And I would love to go. Okay, I'm not gonna go to the title screen. I think this is good enough. I think this is really a nice place to start out. And as everything goes, as soon as the stream begins. Okay. Oh. It's begun, but it did not give me the notification. That is kind of weird, but that's all right. I just need to share this in... Okay, you know what? One of the things I'm actually starting to hate about... What did you do? Okay. Like, one of the problems with the Facebook is that I can't exactly... Yeah. For some reason, it's so scrolled down that the whole menu, when I click the right click, I can't select like share now. Awful. Oh no. Oh no.
Now!
It's fine, it's gonna be fine.
Now! Fighting! Fire!
Yeah.
Fire!
This is the Monada's power!
Everybody! Fire! Ricky shows secret noise! You make you find item! Thunderbullet! Fire!
We're the best!
Okay, let's get going.
Okay, with that done, yes, I think we can begin. So, hello everyone on the stream. Whenever you join in, it's zer0chi again, Suhaib, real name, and today I'm being joined by Padar from. Where are you from? I know where you're from. Just
Good question.
So yeah. So with Padar, he came to Talon quite recently. It's gonna be about a year in 2 months, or a month actually. 2 months.
About a
Yeah, about yeah. So, oh, did you come in earlier
Yeah,
in
I came
summer?
in August. So
Yeah, and he's senior in age, junior. But
Yeah,
my
well-
junior in studies, so I'm just gonna still call him a junior. And because of him, we started some tabletop role-playing games events here, at least in Tallinn University, which was like really amazing for us. So thank you for that. And
I am one of those annoying instigating characters.
no, I think we all need those every now and then, because with how things were, none of us were basically happy with what was happening overall, you know.
Although, as you pointed out, I'm a little bit older, which means that quite a lot of the pop culture references I'm probably going to be spitting out are going to fly over most of people's heads. So this should be an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Teleportation circles.
Exactly.
Always useful.
Yeah, I mean, we were just basically off stream, just bad mouthing the game for a few certain things right now. But it's
Bad mouthing might be going
Bad-
a little hard
okay,
on
okay,
it.
criticizing it.
Going really isn't that interesting. So we have like a flying manta ray,
Yeah, mentor.
With your okay. Enough said, really.
Yeah. So there's also this floating, whatever that is, amber. Yeah. So like, basically,
This is the thing about fantasy worlds. I mean, anything can work. The question is, should you have anything work?
yeah, that's definitely a question to ask when you're designing the worlds itself. So I don't know. Like, to be honest, as far as I've played the game, I haven't questioned anything in a way that. Like, I haven't seen anything that I would mind in this specific case. Like, even the bad sense of clothing sometimes that we were talking about with one of the friends, it's like, it's acceptable.
It's acceptable, but at the exact same time, how shall I put this?
Yeah.
There are certain things that the clothing should do.
Yeah.
There are certain things that the weapons should do. So the concept of a space-age gun that shoots people to heal them, I don't necessarily mind it in terms of the Team Fortress medic gun, where it's definitely something just completely and utterly out there.
Yeah.
But when you have something that looks like a American-made AR-15 stock with extension, and you're expecting it to be, I put in a special bullet. Well, that's a problem that I have with it.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair. Like, again, that's what's been followed here is the rule of cool more than anything else. Sometimes,
but there's a problem with the rule of cool in this. How should I put this? This idea from Echo, from Roberto Echo, of the ideal reader, and sometimes the thing might look cool, but it's not going to read to your audience as what it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And because we're used to seeing specific objects as specific purposes.
Yeah.
And a thing that is not fitting with the specific purpose that it's originally designed for causes confusion to the audience.
So, what you're basically referring to is what you know in reality and how it should work versus how it's been portrayed in fantasy.
Yeah.
And your problem would come with how you're able to justify that when you're utilizing it in fantasy.
Yeah. The other thing to remember is that weapons have specific purposes.
Yeah, definitely.
And we can reference like Cloudbuster's sword from Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy, yeah.
Which just doesn't work. It's too damn big. There's when I think Man at Arms made a real version of it.
Yeah.
And it's just so freaking heavy that you need to create new elements to the world to be able to make anything react to it. Now, that's fine and dandy and everything like that, but again, it's how is the game being read as a text, not just what looks the coolest.
Yeah.
Because you can break the text by making it unintelligible.
Yeah.
So it's definitely cool, but how to say?
I mean, it's definitely cool, but is it believable in the narrative of the thing, right?
Is it getting in the way of its own narrative?
Yeah.
Is the question.
Yeah.
And in some regards, it might be. It might be asking the reader to read too much and too fast.
Yeah. I
I personally think that, and this is just a personal theory, that the reason why swords are...
Might want to close it up a
Yeah.
bit. You're speaking a bit slowly, so like just
Yeah.
keep it closer in that case.
The reason why swords are of such an interest to humanity is
Yeah.
that they're the first tool that was specifically designed for humans to kill other humans.
Yeah.
If you look at an axe or a spear or any of the other traditional military weapons,
Yeah.
their primary purpose was hunting and as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
You could even make an argument that a machete, its primary purpose was to cut down sugarcane, etc.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons why it doesn't make a particularly good sword. The weighting is off. So, creating a thing specifically to be used to hunt and kill other humans, or to hurt other humans, has a very poignant power to it. The only thing that's ever come close to this mythology is the pistol.
Yep.
So this starts to become a strange thing when you're applying the rule of cool, and you're then trying to combine a object like a sword or a pistol or a firearm that we know has its emotional power
Yeah.
from the fact that it was originally designed to kill everybody, and then you try to use it as a healing tool.
Yeah.
It becomes a little strange.
Yeah. So I would say, hey, Janet. So one of your classmates is basically here. If you remember him, Janet.
Hi, Janet.
Yeah. So hey, by the way, it's Pather joining in with me for the talk today. So Janet has been actually joining in streams for pretty much regularly at this point, and it's really amazing to see that like people joining in for this kind of a thing, because it's not like we want a huge crowd, but it's the crowd who actually wants to learn something, or like just join in and have a chat with. That I enjoy. That's why like friends coming in, right?
Yeah.
And
If you're in any way interested in the sword or where I got the information about the sword, there's a beautiful book by Chris Armberger called The Secret History of the Sword.
yeah,
And in it he traces the sword from its earliest usage straight through to fencing battles in the 18 and 1900s with live blades and the fencing societies of Germany.
I see.
And this is the thing. If you look at how the main character here on screen, after he gets his ass handed to him for a second,
Oh, that was just a premonition.
yeah,
To say so.
yeah.
I'll
but-
explain the systems in a bit, because you're not familiar with how a few of these things work. So yeah. Anyways,
But
continue.
if you look at how he's moving the sword,
Yeah.
it's big, huge, exaggerated motions,
Yeah.
which look beautiful and artistically are very, very pretty. But they're baseball swings. And you don't want baseball swings. You want to be in control at all times.
I wish like I had a second screen to connect to, like to show you an additional footage of what I can show, like as how these things can be improved. But here's the thing: it's the concepts of animations, right? One of the things is like, how do you describe the weight of a sword? And what you're describing is that you don't feel the weight of that specific thing because of how big it is, and how the swing doesn't actually feel.
Well,
Or
the thing
yeah.
is that if you look at how he swings the sword,
Yeah.
he's swinging through the opponent.
Yeah.
And yes, you're supposed to be swinging through the opponent,
Yeah.
but you're limiting it to about 3 to 6 inches
Yeah.
past the target. Same as when you're throwing a punch.
Oh,
Because
What happened?
they just got buffed.
Lol. No, something happened to me, and I don't know, everything like just died. But anyways, yeah, continue.
So the thing is that if you're moving so far through
Yeah.
the cut, you can't recover from the cut and move to a defensive position from it.
Yeah.
So you're actually throwing yourself out of space. So what we have here is almost like a baseball bat
Yep.
being swung through the air and moving the body rather than the body being
I
kept in
think I
balance.
am gonna lose here.
Yeah.
But anyways,
that
we'll
does not
restart
look
there, doesn't
really
matter.
good.
Yeah.
So Now, they might be using this to suggest that the blade has weight,
Yeah.
but I've held a greatsword, a
Yeah.
7-foot greatsword, an actual battle-ready version used for reenactment.
Yep.
And you can hold it with one hand out in front of you and tip it to about 45 to almost 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't start to feel heavy until it gets to about the 90-degree level.
Yeah.
Because it's nicely balanced like that. The things are designed to be able to be brought back online a lot quicker and a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
The weapon that he's using on his back there, if it's generating a power, as he pops it open there, if
Yeah.
it's generating a plasma blade,
Yep.
the plasma blade doesn't have any weight.
Yeah.
So why are you trying to use it like it does have this big, huge weight to the end of it?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be, and this is, again, getting back to Shadiversity's commentary about how would you most effectively use a lightsaber? And his argument that it would be probably better to use it as a fencing style than the Aido Kendo style.
Okay. I didn't check that out, but that's an interesting comment on that.
The thing is also that if we look at it in terms of what the shape of the blade,
Yeah.
it's a straight edge blade.
Yep.
And straight edge blades are normally much better used in thrusting motions, and using them to redirect attacks coming in, than they're used in these big wide arcing swings.
Instead of slicing, it's more of the... yeah, okay, okay.
A curved blade, so that move there where he thrust forward,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
But the slicing where he just did that jump,
yeah.
it makes much more sense if you've got a curved blade so that you can use the curve of the blade
Okay.
to actually help you with the cut. It's one of the reasons why the katana is actually shaped that way.
That's fair.
It helps with the cut.
So it's basically generating the arc and a bit more, giving a bit more space to...
Yeah, it helps to draw through the material
Okay.
rather than have just a flat edge.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's
That's intriguing, yeah. I think like one of the games that if you're talking about physics, if you're talking about weight, if you're talking about how weapons work and how they made it believable in this specific world, just like you want to see great levels of weapons done, the game to go for, like one of the games to go for is Monster Hunter, because it just focuses on details of everything. So the weightage of sword, the follow through, the feedback of it, and the effects of it that gets generated out of it. They've been doing
their
it.
homework.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're all inspired by the starting weapons are something that starts that are inspired by real weapons. But then there are things like gun lances and switch axes, which switches between a blade and an axe. And they've taken into account how they can do that. And then there is charge blade, which is basically a shield and a blade, but like it can go back and combine and
well,
hit you.
this is
Yeah.
the thing. Humans have had some beautiful examples of
Yeah.
weird ass weaponry throughout the history of the world. So let's. I was looking at another one of the characters here earlier,
Yeah, I'll change it to that soon. So
and we could talk about when we do that. We'll talk about the lantern, the lantern shield.
yeah,
But humanity. I mean, we could take a look at the gladiator using the net and trident system. Or we could look at the schizore, which is a precursor to sort of the arm blades that we see in a couple of the games out
Yeah.
there. There's plenty of historical material out there for you to reference and use.
Yep.
The trick is to use them intelligently and use them well.
Yeah, because like just because the tool is available for you doesn't mean you just put them in.
Yeah. So the other thing is we've got a character here who's dual wielding, and if you're looking at dual wielding,
the monster is dual
the
wielding. Yeah,
monster
exactly.
is dual wielding. He's pretty much humanoid.
Yeah.
So why aren't you looking at, for example, Eskrima or Arnis for the dual wielding techniques and keeping the movement and motion closer to the body?
Yeah.
The guy with the shield here, why is he leading out with his as he throws into the attack? Why is he leaving his sword out there so long? As he takes that swing, he literally leaves his exposed out there. If you're working with a shield, you want to keep the shield in front of you between you and the opponent at all times, and your strike is coming over the top of it or coming around the side of it, but that never moves. It's not a step around your protection; it's keep your protection in front of you.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely fair. Let's see.
Does it look cool?
It does.
Yes, but this is equivalent to what we see in some wire fu movies.
Yeah.
Where does it look cool? Yeah, it looks really cool. He flies through the air, does a double black flip. I love that stuff.
So yeah, I'm going to change to the character that you wanted to talk about quite a bit.
But the problem with it being just cool and everything like that is you lose a little bit of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it can mistranslate.
Oh yeah. So yeah, also you're asking about if I can change the character's sword. For the main character, no. It's eventually gonna get upgraded, as far as I know. For everyone else, yes, I do get different weapons. The functionality of it doesn't exactly change, but you know.
Okay.
Anyways.
Kite away.
There was a question about it in the chat. So, oh my goodness, I brought that other character, so I hope I don't die at this point, because that would suck. Anywho, oh damn it. Anyways, yeah. So we brought the other character, Ryan, who you were talking about in terms of
the lantern blade.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Lantern shield.
I need to have.
You need to have your healer, I think.
I do have my healer, actually. That's what's weird. I need to have my other healer in this specific case, I would say. I don't think I need the buffs. Where's my dude? Yeah, this battle is kind of weird. It's too many opponents at the same time.
Yeah, you managed to pull too much of them off.
It's not. It's gonna be like that no matter what I do. Yeah, I think I'm gonna let this one go away, and I'm gonna reset a few things. Apparently it's required. I didn't expect this to happen. Oh my god.
Well, that's always a good sign of a good game.
Yeah,
I was expecting something.
Damn. No, I'm not gonna lower down the my opponents or something. I just need to rearrange a few things. Ooh, okay, more experience bonus, cool. So actually, one of the things I wanted to talk about now that we are moving away from the weapons, and we'll probably come back to that at some point, because is, like I said, the social aspect of the game, right? We usually do think about when we've been studying in context of learning games, but social aspect of a game is still considered to be a very important thing nowadays, the multiplayer online and things, which has kind of also gone into the direction in terms of industry that, hey, single player games don't work anymore, which has been proven wrong now multiple times, if not once. But with the learning game specifically, what we've been exploring, or what we've been specifically focusing on, has been for learning, it's good to have a social environment. In terms of games, you need the games to be social. And my argument against that was usually, I don't know what happened there, which is kind of weird. But anyways, to which my argument was that maybe instead of having a social game, what we need is something more social within the characters to make it more relatable. And
The problem is, from a learning game perspective, what is being interpreted as social is the ideas of social learning, Vygotsky and those sort of things. It's a very narrow perspective on what makes a game social.
Yeah.
So, for example, we're engaged in a social commentary about this game right now.
Yeah.
We're sitting here, you're playing it, I'm sitting here chatting with you about it, and people are watching and listening to us. That metagame around it is part of the social experience of it. Is it possible to get integrated social aspects into the game? Yes. When you were showing the affinities system.
I will get into that in more detail, because before that I wanted to.
It's possible to do, but again, it's a very light version of it.
Yeah.
And it's a very simulation version of it. If we wanted to engage a hell of a lot more in social identification play, the character archetypes would need to be much more customizable. Because, well, I don't know about you, but I'm not a 15 or 16-year-old boy anymore. So
am I though?
Am I? Yeah.
Aren't you though?
So the thing is that most of the research shows that if you're seeking to get the player to identify with the character, one of the easiest methods to do it is to allow them to shape and make the character look more like themselves. Which is one of the major things that Skyrim did. And which a lot of World of Warcraft and everything like that has leveraged, has been the idea that you're doing these things to create more engagement, more immersion by seeing yourself in the situation. Now, is it possible for you to self-identify with somebody who looks nothing like you? Oh yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be silly of me to say that you don't begin to empathize and react to the character, no matter what they look like. I mean, I remember playing Pac-Man and getting very frustrated at the ghosts when they managed to catch me, and but that's what I just said there is very important.
Yeah.
I got annoyed with them when they managed to catch me.
Yeah.
I was identifying with this tiny little sprite that looks nothing like a human. But it's still, because it was a situation where I could take ownership and move with the game, it was still something that drew me in. So maybe it might be overplayed, maybe it might not be overplayed. It's hard to know.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, in terms of relatability to the character, I think it's more than just what you do for the character, but it's the support that comes with it, right? Because maybe the character doesn't look like you, but usually, even in real life, the people we do connect to people, even if they're not there, because you have some common elements to talk about, maybe.
Yeah.
And I mean, that can be same for the characters in game, because it's not their physique, it's not their looks, it's not their abilities that you might connect to, but rather, hey, something happened to him.
Yeah.
The loss happened, maybe, right? The loss of a loved one. Someone might have actually experienced some sort of similar emotion, and that's what can get them connected to the character and invested, because like the important thing is, from my point of view, initially, like you need to give people something to be able to connect to it initially, to allow themselves to believe
Yes.
that
There has to be
yeah,
the suspension of
yeah,
disbelief.
you bridge the gap between reality and that reality, and you make that reality be the current reality for them. Like we are going to talk about Magic Circle, let's say, right? So something like that needs to kind of exist.
Although I will say I'm not a huge fan
Of Magic
how
Circle?
No, I'm not a huge fan of how much it's been overly emphasized.
Yeah, no, it's. I agree with you.
Don't get me wrong. Is it a useful concept? Yes. However, there are other useful concepts that we could be engaging with.
I mean, we've talked about Campbell's Hero's Journey.
Yeah.
Which is which is a great thing, to be honest.
It's a beautiful framework.
Yeah.
But it's not the only framework.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, while it's a wonderful framework, it's a framework.
Yeah.
And there are stories that don't fit within the framework.
Yeah.
And the thing that it's been overly used.
Yeah.
In games, because it's the only framework that people have been able to sort of get their hands on, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Bartle's player types.
Yeah.
There's
more to it, but
it's grossly over-applied because, how shall I put this? It's the thing that everybody knows about.
Yeah.
But it's not the only thing out there. And that's part of the thing is, if you're really looking at games, studying games, talking about games, you should be reaching for something a little bit further beyond the simplistic.
Yeah.
And
I mean, generalization. Like, here's the thing, right? We've talked about abstraction. And abstraction is usually basically a generalized way of putting things out, so you remove the complexity out of it. It's all right to do so.
This is the thing. This is one of the traps, I think, in both education and games.
Yeah.
Is the idea that we should be removing complexity.
Yeah.
If anything, games show us the value of making things complex.
Yeah, but it needs to be designed around that.
Yes.
You don't just put it as it is. There still needs to be a sort of abstraction which makes it good. You remove the things that are gonna be bad for the experience, but they are thoughtful removals. They are not just something that, hey, I have a thing and I'm gonna put it on the click of the button and it's gonna do it. That's just simplification of...
That's simplification to the point of Taylorism.
Yeah.
Now, Taylorism is the management via the stopwatch. So first we make the task so simple that a monkey can do it, and then we get you to do it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So the problem with Taylorism is that it produces phenomenal boredom.
Yeah.
It really produces workplaces that are appalling to live in.
Yeah. What is going on there?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Anyways.
So that's kind of the thing. Maybe the reason why we are seeking out games like this is, as Jane McGonigal put it, that our real lives are so missing these things, missing these clear goals, missing these complex but achievable ends. If we spend all our time doing things that are unfortunately rather formulaic, maybe we want this moment where we can be the hero, where we can save the universe, where our actions have consequences.
Yeah.
But not real consequences, because that would be bad.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, coming back to the actual topic where we started out from, because we went quite a few steps away. So the reason for what, like, I was bringing the social aspect of it, because it's kind of like when I talk about the social aspect, one of the ways to make it more relatable, the character more relatable to you, might actually also be done with the social relationships of the character with other characters within the game, the NPCs. But there is a definitive way to mechanically put it out, right? Oh, sorry, narratively put it out.
Yes.
But narrative, I don't think when it comes to game design, only narrative is enough every time. It can be, right? If I'm making a visual novel, let's say,
There are questions about whether or not a visual novel is. But that's
we're not
another story.
we're not getting in there right now. We are definitely not. But so in terms of like narrative design or game design itself, it's like there is the narrative aspect of it, but for sake of exploring the game, why would a player explore narrative side? Yes, there are definitely players. Like if you are just sticking to the Bartles 4 stereotypes, I'm not getting into the next one because I haven't yet studied it. There are definitely explorers who would just sit down and see every aspect of the whole game as to, hey, this is an interesting relationship, maybe I want to see a bit more of this. So they might just go in, but
I think what you're kind of getting at is
Yeah.
the computer game episode of Community.
okay.
And in it, Abed finds that there is a conversation tree with one of the characters, and he figures out that if he maxes it out on this, that there is a mechanical benefit to
Yeah.
it. And this leads him to a discovery of how to, in effect, break the game. But that's isn't necessarily an explorer action.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, it could be a hyperachiever action,
Yeah.
or for that matter, it could be a killer action.
Okay.
It could be where I'm doing this specifically because I want to find the best course for me to win and take everybody else out.
Yeah.
So there's a whole heap of potential explanations of it. I think it's interesting, the mechanic that they're putting in here that is doing it. I think it might, in some regards, actually interfere with a potential narrative element somewhat, because people will be potentially min-maxing how their characters engage with each other, and by changing it into a mechanical element,
It's a like what I seek, or what I see in this thing is like it's a balance between narrative and gameplay at the same time, because you kind of have to put effort for it to be for a relationship to grow.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just gonna get into it like what it is. It's so what they have is an interesting affinity tree, which basically explains to you how characters are connected. This is not just characters within
the party.
a party. It's characters and it's NPCs with other NPCs as well. It's giving you the world narrative as how people deal with each other, right? And in a way, what's happening here is that, yeah, it is a bit more mechanical, but it makes sense from the game point of view because it's connected to the narrative of the whole thing, and it's providing you a chart of, hey, this is how people treat each other. Now that's working on cohesion, and that's what I find interesting here.
Yeah.
Right?
What I'm seeing when
Yeah.
I look at this first is a network analysis.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought of the advantage of using a network analysis as a potential. I've thought about it in terms of using it in a role-playing game, a tabletop. But this mapping of it out is actually a really interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it also gives the player an area to explore who's closer to who and why is this person closer to who are the key characters to which group and why. Potentially interesting would be if they'd built in, and I don't know, I played a grand total of 4 seconds of this game while you were setting up.
It's fine. You're going through it right now, technically playing, so I'll explain a few things as well.
Yeah, so what would be interesting to see is had they built in a mechanic based on player choices or player quest acceptances or success or failure metrics to allow the chart to shift.
So now this is the interesting point, right? This is the interesting point. This is a very simplified way of doing things. I think it can be expanded upon because right now we do have a tech and ability to do so, which is why I think like instead of maybe making bigger games, maybe you need to stop, like not always, but you might want to like tone down the size of the game and maybe try to explore the depth of the game, right? Which in this specific case comes in like you were talking about the failure and choices of that, which is kind of a thing that happens, but not as often, I think.
Well, this is one of the conventions with RPG games and computer games in general. They reduce the cost of failure hugely.
Yeah.
But the problem with reducing the cost of failure is you can reduce the cost of failure to the point where the actions are no longer meaningful.
Yeah, which is why we were talking about over simplicity or over abstraction, like to the point where it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, where
so
it breaks itself by doing that.
So what's happening here is that like this is the important thing. This is still the most important thing ever. Like this relationship is the most important thing that you get. What you get from here is you get the story of how this colony is existing and what have people done to each other, which from narrative point of view is interesting. From mechanical point of view, why it's interesting is because it gives the player back the trust that, hey, I've done this thing with you, so maybe the next quest you're going to do is going to give you more experience, more items, because I trust you with more complex things for me.
More complex tasks.
Which is like, yes, imagine adding the consequences of failing something.
That would make it much more deep.
Right.
And again, if you were using this as a framework, you would have the opportunity to set it up to shift and move, at which point with some fairly simple math, which is something that I always hesitate to say, but with some mathematical modeling, you could design it so that you could have almost true emergent narrative happening.
Yep.
What I find interesting is if we go out to the whole screen, we've got...
So we've got currently, like, if you see a line between them, there has been a quest that has happened between them which interacts with them and goes by.
Well, we've got 20 NPCs that we're looking at the moment.
And this is going to grow.
And this is going to grow. Yes, there's definitely space out to your right there.
Yep, there's...
I wonder if they considered Dunbar's number before they started engaging.
I've got no clue. I would love to ask the question from them, though.
Well, for those people who are interested, Dunbar's number is the number of people that you can successfully hold in your mind. It's theoretically about the number that can form a small community where everybody knows everybody, and where it seems to be the maximum size of a healthy 100% democratic community.
Okay.
So theoretically, that limits the amount of NPCs that you can have available to you.
Okay.
Because otherwise, the human brain just doesn't seem capable of holding all those interactions.
What was it? I think I know. Was it 100?
150.
Yeah. Okay, it was 150. I remember something around 100.
Yeah. I do believe it's Dunbar's number, but if I'm getting the name wrong, I'm pretty sure
you can check it out, and if there is something we can... but I would love to have the sources for this, and I can just post it in the descriptions after that. So, so that's one mechanical advantage. Now, another thing I really like is the... what's happening within the party. So within the party, every character can have choices which shows, and you can have affinity built up towards other characters. I'm not going to go too deep within it, but it's a simple thing. You're interacting with these people on regular basis, right? I would definitely have loved to have things that happen that also give the negative affinity. Kind of. It's kind of brutal, probably. But sort of, I'd love to have consequences to things as well. Where there are positives, there are definitely negatives. It would definitely put a more strain on players' mind when they're dealing with some things, and they would look for more optimal stuff. Or maybe it doesn't even matter to have like because you're traveling with people you like. So maybe that doesn't need to exist. But anyways, so what's happening here is you have affinity. You can give gifts to from character to character to increase that affinity, and you can do quests with those people to increase affinity. There are multiple ways to increase affinity in this specific game. It's not a dating sim, but it's close to the concept of it. And that's something I found fun. That there are multiple ways in the game to increase your social status with so many elements in the game, whether that's in party or outside of party. Now, narratively, I think that's a really fun thing to go about because it shows who you like more. Of course, you can exploit it to the point and max out everything. That's
we're always going to have min-max players.
Exactly. And at the end, I do want my optimal party to go to the boss and not have problems. Now, what I think mechanically they did good was they connected it to the system to give you more advantages to show what the progression affects for you when your friend becomes better with you in terms of emotional connection, which is, if you take from real life, would be a better friend. It's going to support you better in life, right? And what they did in this specific case is they created skill tree. So everyone has a skill tree which you can grow up over playing time and battling. But then they have skill links. So the more skill links you have, the more skills you take from them, and the more support they give to you. And I think that is motivation for, like, if we're again going to the Bartles stereotype, it allows, like, this whole system that I just went through, it allows everyone to pick something out of it, to be interested into it, and play it. You don't have to usually, you don't make games for everyone.
No.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, this specific system kind of, not at the best maybe, but it still enables multiple player types to come in and play and find their own benefits as to what they want to do and why do they want to explore.
Just an interesting one.
Yeah.
It appears that if I were to guess, you would have 2 more players who will be joining your party.
One more.
One
Yeah.
more. Because there's definitely the space for it over on the right.
There's one more player that's
There's
supposed to
one
come
more
in.
player.
Yeah.
Which calls into question how well they were thinking of Dunbar's number, because I just looked it up there, and the first image that I got was the affinity grouping.
Yeah.
And if you look at 5
Oh.
is the kin, so that the really tight, close relationship. But I think this is a better system than some of the party systems I've seen in RPGs. I mean, the most recent RPG that I played was Shining Force.
I have not played that yet.
On the NES.
Okay.
Or on the SNES. So it's a really old one, but you ended up with 20 plus characters.
Oh.
And you ended up with trying to control 12, or I can't remember how many were in your team, but you ended up with so many. It was turn-based, but you ended up with so many characters that basically there were guys you never brought out to battle. You just stayed in base and just ignored forever. Whereas if you have a smaller number, you're much more likely to create a bond between those individuals.
Yeah.
And you're much more likely to find them much more interesting.
Unless the bond was not intended to create, but like a sort of a friction, because I have a very good counter example against what you said, and not. Oh damn! I need to go. Fricks, that's a level 85 character. I didn't see. I'm gonna go down again, most probably. I'm run now. So my counter example to that is Project X Zone. I don't know for sure if Shining Force is connected because I feel like the name is familiar to me. But what happens in Project X Zone is that you have crossover characters from multiple universes, and they are not necessarily on good terms. So in a way, like what you're calling about for the Dunbar's number is that if you're building up relationship and like close relationships and then no politics kind of situation, right? Is that's what the point
thing
is?
that it was an old game that didn't have access to that level of
Yeah,
computing power.
yeah,
So it couldn't do any of those things. So it
Yeah.
had to rely on its narrative elements to be able to do these things.
I need to change the way I do this. But yeah, anyways, you were saying.
So the thing is that sometimes less is more,
Yeah,
and sometimes you shouldn't, as a designer, be spending all your time working on 53 different characters
Yeah.
instead of,
okay, I need to change my approach completely.
3 or 4 that really work for everybody.
Yeah. They just casted bind on me, so I
Yeah.
can't even run anymore.
Can't run away.
So there you go. Time to fall once again. Unless the bind goes away for some reason. Nope, so I'm not running away from this one. Yep, I'm not running from this one. But yeah, so the reason why I'm mentioning Project X Zone is that at the end of the whole game, I do have more than 20 characters, and I get to play them. I get to play the whole freaking, or like the whole cast that gets there with me, and that was absolutely amazing because I honestly, not most of the time, I do not enjoy that the characters are just standing in my group and they're not part of the battle even though they are there. It feels like, why are you forcing me to fight with just 4? Because it's a mechanical restriction, it's not a narrative restriction. And it does bother me. For Project X Zone, the thing is, they never wanted, it wasn't necessary that they have a good non-political party, because they all have different ideologies. The only reason they're together is because they have a common enemy to take down. So even the villains from the universes and the heroes from the universes become part of the party, but they are forced to do so, otherwise they won't have a universe to fucking live in.
Yeah.
So like, I think that would like that's one example from my point of view where you can just go like, hey, maybe the number doesn't matter.
The problem is that how shall I think even there you're talking about 20 characters.
More than 20 actually. Way more than 20.
But we're not talking about in excess of 150. And you're having to remember each and every one of their names.
Okay.
So, and even then, what I'm kind of getting at is there a theoretical cognitive load limit?
There should be. Like, I'm pretty sure there is. Like, for human brain, there is.
Yeah, which is what Dunbar's number seems to suggest.
Okay.
And if there's a theoretical limit to how much is really viable for us to know, then that would be a theoretical limit to how many characters we could include into a game.
Yeah.
Now, working on a game at the moment for a game design project.
Yeah.
And characterization is an incredibly important step of it.
Yeah.
Because you can't rely on exposition to tell stories.
Yeah. Okay.
In general, to go to a couple of the fun YouTube videos that I watch on storytelling and bad movies, etc.
Yeah.
One of the major movie sins is exposition dumps.
Oh no, that I agree to. It's one of the biggest problems with anime at this point as well. Is
they spend the first 20 episodes explaining the world rather than dumping you into it.
Yeah.
And having you get on with it.
Yeah.
The classic one of the exposition dump is Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
The Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope.
Yeah.
In which, yes, you do have the text scroll at the start, but they dump you straight into, wait a second, this guy in a big these stormtroopers have just shot in, and you instantly know who the good guys are and the bad guys are. So that's the saving grace on it. Now we look at the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And the exposition dump starts with the crawl and then proceeds to two Jedi being brought to a conference room. We aren't given that dropped into the start of the action moment.
Yeah.
And too often, this is a problem with storytellers in general, is that they spend so long working on the world that they want to explain all of the world to their player without actually letting their player explore the world and engage with it.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing, like the problem with basically the overexposition is that the interactivity from the world goes away. You're just telling stuff that
it's tell, not show.
Yeah. Like I think, like in terms of characterization, there are quite a few good ways to go about it, and I think you have a lot of media to help you understand that. Like, let's take, like, if you take voices away, right, from the characters, how would you tell your players or your viewers as to what kind of character that's going on or what sort of stories that's happening? Like,
well, let's go to
Charlie Chaplin, maybe.
Let's go Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
Let's go Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
Let's go another extreme.
Yeah.
And this is one that has some baggage behind it because of the discussion. But let's take a look at Double Dragon.
Okay. Yeah.
The opening sequence of Double Dragon is a female character gets jumped, gets thrown over the arms of some thugs, and walked off the screen.
Yeah.
And then your two characters come out. No words are spoken.
Yeah.
But it instantly sets up a clear relationship of this is somebody who obviously we cared about.
Yeah.
And the arrow saying they went that way sets up the impetuous to act.
Yeah.
Why I said it was problematic is that it could be seen, and in fact probably is, the damsel in distress trope.
Yeah.
The thing is that tropes and stereotypes like this, while they definitely are in need of being challenged, and they definitely need to not only be challenged, but we need different representation of it. They work because they're instantly recognizable.
Yep.
It's very quick to read, and the interpretation of the reading is very clear and very easy.
It blew up.
It blew up and slept.
Yeah, I absolutely hate that. I tried to seal its aura, blah blah blah, but it didn't work out. But yeah, no, I agree. But like, I think one of the amazing people, or like the YouTube channels where we were talking about where they talk about animations and stuff, it's like by Daniel Floyd, Playframes, when he plays games and sometimes talks about animations and how they show. Back in a few days, he was talking about God of War and how, like, if you look at the idle stance of Kratos, how it immediately tells you what sort of person this is.
Yes.
And it's with, like, what? It's the idle stance, the way he stands, the way he holds the weapons, the way he breathes, the way he opens his mouth. Even like his stance, it's like low and he's ready, it's wide. He has two blades and he's just like, you know.
He's a bruiser.
Yeah, he's crude, he's gonna beat you up kind of person. And if you're talking about characterization, yes, those things is...
Let's take another example. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
Sonic the Hedgehog has a Easter egg animation built into it of if you don't move for a certain amount of time, he starts looking at you and tapping his foot impatiently.
Yeah.
And then eventually he'll run off screen and run back again and come back again.
Yeah.
And this is all intended to highlight just how impatient and how much of a desire he has to move at speed.
Yeah.
Which is fundamental to the character.
Yeah.
Is that he moves. Speed is the sort of the fundamental element of the character. So, there are ways to do it through the animation, through the narrative, the environmental narrative.
Yep.
But again, you can do it through the storytelling.
I mean, this is storytelling. Characterization is storytelling. Like, if you're talking about the story...
You don't have to... If you're using an information dump,
Yeah.
either via a information dumping character or an information dumping text, you're losing a great deal. I mean, BioShock had a beautiful...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Get out of jail and get around this problem by... doing the narrative dump stuff in little recordings and little stuff that you found as Easter eggs.
Yep.
So you could engage with it as a exploratory aspect. And the people who didn't want to engage with the story arc of it at all were just like, you know what? I found another tape. Skip. Moving on.
No, definitely. Like there are ways to go about this. It's not a singular means. Like you don't just go like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna choose this and that's it because this is the best way to do something. I think that's what makes designing games all the more interesting because you have so many options available. You have so many tools at your disposal. Because at the end of the day, even the mechanics that you see, you can either choose to use them in a very mechanical, straightforward way that, hey, okay, it's just a game that I'm playing and that's about it. Or you can decide to go like, okay, I'm gonna do a sort of a composition. I'm gonna use these things and tell people a certain story, right? But that's where where
the art and the work of the game design is.
Yeah, because like technology is gonna update. We've seen massive changes in tech in the last decade itself.
Yes.
Let's look at the coming of Unreal Engine at this point. Like, it's freaking crazy, if anything.
Yeah.
Even
at this stage, you're capable of producing movie quality special effects.
Yeah.
The thing is that we're running the risk of the special effects interfering with the story.
Yeah. Distractive instead of constructive.
Yeah. And again, to get back to BioShock, I felt that BioShock was an amazing work because they were seeking to answer a very political and very philosophical questions.
Yeah.
What would life be like if Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged actually happened? And to borrow from Bogust's procedural rhetoric, was that this idea of a libertarian utopia would be a hellscape.
Yeah.
So personally, I agree with him, but the interpretation, but that's a personal feel
Yeah.
of it. But again, it's a very interesting sort of thing. They're asking simple questions and moving on with it.
Yeah.
I personally think that the best episodes of science fiction have always had a specific question that they're seeking to answer.
Yeah. Okay.
So the reason why Data in The Next Generation was such an interesting character is he was asking, what does it mean to be a human?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that makes a human, and why is that important?
Yeah.
Ooh, cutscene.
Oh, yeah, it's just a future vision. This is one of the things I really like, that when you pick up an item or something, sometimes it has relevance to the future events.
Wow.
And they just show you that, okay. So the story is kind of like, there's this weapon that Shulk, the main character, holds, and it can only be wielded by a chosen one. No one knows what the origin of it is, which we'll probably find out at the end of the day, because you always do.
Of course.
And it has the power to take on certain forms, activate certain abilities, and one of its abilities is to see the future, like as it's gonna happen. So it gives Shulk the opportunity to change it somewhat, and based on that, it's like, what they did, like this is the connectivity. It's not just a one-off thing that just they put it in and it's gonna get used for just one thing. It's this main mechanic which is gonna like be the part of the whole narrative as to how Shulk is able to change things, because by profession Shulk is not a fighter. He's actually a researcher.
Okay.
The only reason that he can fight is because he can see the future, so he doesn't really lose the balance at all times. At every hit he knows what's the next thing that's going to happen, which is why he's
It's
strong.
an interesting one.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it right now, but there is definitely it's gonna be a spoiler for everyone. Even I haven't played that, so I just want to see it. But yeah, so there has been one specific place where Shulk is unable to use his ability to see future to his advantage, because he was fighting against a creature that could read mind. So the moment, like, you see the future and you change your action, and the moment you change action,
It reads your
the
mind to
creature
deal with
reads
it.
your mind. So Shulk can do that. And he's about to get beaten up, and he gets saved by another character because he can't die. If he dies, then
The story
the
arc
story is
is a
gone.
problem.
So, yeah, where narratively he just unlocks the power to seal auras, which is abilities from specific people or specific creatures. And that's interesting, but like, you know, they did put narratively something that would be naturally your enemy. Maybe it would have been fun to have like that natural enemy actually exist against you. Would definitely make things difficult.
Yeah. Well, the issue with potential power fantasies are the Superman effect.
Yeah.
Where, how shall I put this?
Okay.
You end up becoming so powerful that nothing is a threat anymore.
Yeah.
This can cause a massive power spike
Yeah.
problem. So you're like, oh well, you know, yes, I am so and so, hero of so and so, and bye bye, you're all dead.
Yeah.
I sneeze.
Which can be annoying.
Well, the thing is, without a threat,
Yeah.
there's no tension,
Yeah.
and without tension, there's no worry that you're not going to be able to succeed.
Yeah.
And if you're no longer worried that you're able to succeed, you're in a solved game.
Yep.
You're in a game where
My rifle's getting hotter.
you're just done.
You don't have anything to do, basically.
Yeah, you may as well just turn it on, press the button, and we're done. We won. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But I mean, what's the point of playing in that specific case?
yeah. And again, this is the thing that I like about Sweets
Yeah.
and the Grasshopper, is this idea that we actually play games to add complexity and to add difficulty
Yeah.
to things that we just find too simple.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an interesting take on it.
No, definitely, but that's the thing. Like, I think like we've like as gamers in the last few decades as well, we've come to the point of maturity that we want a bit more than just a simple, straightforward hero's journey. Let's say.
Well, we're no longer as interested in straight-up power fantasies.
Yeah.
The problems with power fantasies are without creating limitations.
Okay, I screwed up again.
Oh yeah, you just called them all.
Oh,
into
I
the
wanted
exact
to
same
do some.
place
I
again.
wanted to do something else actually.
Oh well.
Damn it.
Yeah,
no.
you're not getting through this one again.
Oh well, time to run. I was trying to do like I was trying to shield and then move away and then focus on just one character. But it's not gonna work out. I think I'll have to just grind this out, the heck out of this, and then wait. What's this?
That's where you teleport to.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice this the last time. Interesting. Oh yeah, but these are the environmental cues. I really love them when they have things like this going on. So like I know where I'm gonna go next. Yeah.
It's where the teleport is set up to. And do the enemies heal as fast as you do?
Enemies heal as fast as I do. The moment I'm
No longer
out
on
of
screen.
what I wanted, I wanted to get one by one, but unfortunately they don't allow to do that.
Yeah.
And the only thing to do here is basically get them. But I can't do that unless some specific.
Unless you can kite one or two.
Yeah, let's see. The thing is, my characters die too fast. Oh, see?
Yeah. As soon as they
So
activate, they're designed to.
So
Yeah, and they insta heal. So.
it's fine. I just need to keep check on my characters. Okay, yeah. The biggest problem is I have to deal with the seal, which stops my arts basically. So I can't exactly do anything. Okay, who do I have to warn? Okay, there you go. Yeah, no, I don't think. I think I'm just gonna move around in stream and just grind levels at this point because there's nothing else to do. This is getting annoying.
You just can't get out through there.
It's specific abilities that's basically more annoying than anything else. So no matter what I do, they are able to bind me. They are able to seal my abilities and some other stuff. So the only way, for now at least, is to kind of get. It's not even the gear. It's just getting
Grinding up
strong
the levels,
enough to be able to kill them. But there's definitely another thing I need to do. But that also involves me just grinding over stuff, and that's simply me going to make gems. But gems require materials, and I don't. And the specific things I want. Yeah. But anyways, we're having a nice talk, so I think I'm just gonna grind and talk at this point. So I'm not gonna do any story progression in terms of. Yeah, I think I need to reach a way higher level than I am right now. The problem is having 36 level enemies with that strength to basically just come in and screw me over.
Yeah, you basically you're getting jumped.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to jump them, but it's not happening.
That's kind of the problem.
It's all right. Yeah. Anyways, what were we talking about again?
I don't know. Anybody saying anything on the stream that we should talk about?
Yeah. If you guys are listening in, if there's something you guys want to talk about, please leave a message. Feather here is very knowledgeable and he can give advice on quite a lot of things. Let's just say I'm not gonna.
I know a lot about very little. Or I know a little about quite a lot.
Yeah, I
one
think
of those two.
I think the other one is true, but like it's not little that you know. When you know things, and you
Yeah.
know them in proper details, so at least what you know is right.
Well,
Or you
I
tried.
don't know yet.
Yeah.
I think so. I hope so.
Well,
let's see how they develop out.
yeah,
I mean,
I hope they're right. uh,
the only thing is that I need to remind myself that very important. I don't know is a very valid answer.
yeah, it most
and-
definitely is.
And when it comes to game design and some of these things, I think a big problem that potentially we have as designers is too much certainty.
Yeah,
Is believing that we are 100% sure that this works this way.
yeah, but it's not something that you need to know, because I think that's why the design processes are amazing, is because you don't know what's gonna work.
Yeah. And iterative design is an incredibly important tool.
Yeah,
The other thing that I wish people would do more of is play some classic games.
yeah,
And I mean, pick up a really old Dungeons and Dragons adventure module and read it. Not to play it, but read it as in terms of reading it like you would read pseudocode. Because if you look at it from that sort of perspective, you can see some beautiful game design elements to it, and you could understand what goes into RPG design. I think they're wonderful technical
or how we reach
documents.
to 5e at this point.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm not a huge fan of 5e. but
It doesn't matter, but still, like as a system, it's still a pretty good system, because it allows players of all types to just jump in and start playing, and that's what's amazing about
Yeah.
it.
But specifically the adventure modules.
Yeah,
Because they can teach you so much about level design. They can teach you so much about how to do specific things.
yeah,
And they're just possibly one of the best teaching tools out there for game design, because basically they're how you would explain the coding necessary to a human
yeah,
rather than the coding that you would necessarily need to explain to a computer, which means that they're eminently more readable for humans, and the better versions of them are amazing to teach you how to be able to explain what needs to happen and where it needs
Yeah.
to happen and why it needs to happen.
I mean, there's definitely like the bad examples as well, but that's
Oh.
also good. Like you need to know where
Where
Oh,
mistakes can be made.
mistakes can be made. Like that's the thing. Like even for Wizard of the Coast, they do end up making some bad decision at times,
Oh,
which is fine. Which is absolutely because like, but this is a takeaway of it, that even if you get experience, sometimes you do things where things can mess up, but they don't necessarily mean they're bad. It's just that the decision didn't just work out the way you might have thought it would work out.
Mhm. That was a level 85, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, I'm just moving away from it.
Yeah, I would. Level 85, run!
Yeah, at least it's not aggressive enemy, so it just lets me go.
Yeah.
There are definitely enemies who just come in and stomp you and just go away. Like, what the fuck?
Skyrim mammoths.
Can't fight with these enemies because there
The
is a.
85 is right
Yeah.
there.
I can call them here though. So yeah, like up till level 33 or something I can work, but those enemies are for some reason way stronger than I expected them to be. So are you playing anything nowadays though?
Let's see. What's the last thing that I played? I've been what I have been playing, it's been more for research work. I've been plugging myself into a brain scanner while playing a variety of different games to see how I react to the immersion on them. Let's see, the last one I played The last one I played for fun is...
Oh wait, what the hell? Oh, for God's sake, I've moved away from that.
The last one I played for fun was Dawn of War. Dawn of War 2 and Chaos Rising. And I've played it before, but I was playing it again on super hard level. And again, even playing it at super hard level, I'm like, okay, all that requires is taking more time with it.
Yeah.
And setting up my firing lines a little bit better. I have to admit, I'm a sucker for the grimdark.
Yeah.
And a sucker for the Warhammer universe.
Oh yeah, we've talked about that in depth. So I think you can just stick to Warhammer for the whole day, and it's still gonna continue on. So.
I could go through. I mean, I started playing back in '97.
Yeah.
And had a couple of armies through my years, and don't play anymore. But that's not because I don't like the game. It's because keeping a hold of a army worth of miniatures and finding people to play with is sometimes a challenge in of itself.
Yeah. Lo and behold. But yeah, we were talking about Warhammer, and it's like I think, Pather, you had like a really good experience going through it because things were coming out, and you kind of it seems you kind of had access to the Warhammer universe and like the lore and
the very first role-playing game that I played with somebody else GMing was Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Okay.
Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game. And a friend of mine had a copy of Hero Quest, and I got into the storytelling aspect of it, and then got into Dungeons and Dragons from there.
Yeah.
And while I was in college the first time, I have to say that these days. When I was in college the first time, I was in the UK, and there was a Warhammer store. And I would pick up copies of White Dwarf, and I really enjoyed the story aspects, and it's a really interesting take, because one of the major differences between it and other sci-fi is that other sci-fi always assumes that the future is going to be better, whereas this one kind of assumes that the future's all messed up, dude. In fact, if anything, have you considered that you might in fact be currently living in the golden age of human technology and
I
thought?
mean, isn't that always the question, though?
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. So that's the most recent computer game I've been playing for fun.
Yeah.
Before that, I spent half an hour or so with A Wolf Among Us.
Oh, okay, that's a good game.
It's a very good game. I was starting to get into the story, but again, the issue for me with it was a little bit too much of a completionist, and this would have been a game that I would have had to have spent a lot of time, not just playing once to play through the story, but then going back and seeing, could I play as the complete silent protagonist who never says anything? And, and what if I had done this instead of this? I would have been very interested to see how they shaped up the narrative in such a way, how they either kept expanding or contracting the narrative or collapsing the narrative to make sure that everything was understandable and logical.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about it, and I'm going to be honest with what I didn't like about it, was fucking QuickTime events.
Okay.
And I'm not 100% sure that it technically qualifies as a game. Does it qualify as an experience? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
But that's in the same way as I'd qualify the experience of watching a movie or reading a book. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is a game.
Yeah.
And for me, the problem with that is I wasn't sure how clear the choices were.
Mm-hmm.
The choices seem to be almost rather arbitrary.
Okay.
And yes, they were built around a moral system, but because you don't have any understanding of the system, you're being left to your own devices.
So it was more obscure when it came to how morality and how choices affect the whole.
How they affect the whole system.
Okay.
So do I tell Beast? Do I tell Beast that Belle, his wife, has wandered away into the night to meet somebody and asked me not to tell her?
Ha ha ha.
And I know that this decision is going to have an impact into the future, or potentially an impact into the future. But there's no way for me to predict what that impact is. And without having access to the amount of lore that I would need to have to be able to comprehend, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, no. We definitely had chats on how, not chats, but oh god, I can't remember the study. I'm gonna look it up again. But it was actually one of the people I was interviewing for my interview, and he said, like, he mentioned that, hey, like, you need to have reason for why choices are made. You need to know what potentially it can affect. Not that what it will affect, but rather what potentially it can affect. Right? And if you don't know, then the choices isn't going to matter because it, for you, they're the same if you make them arbitrarily or, you know. So, yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Tracy Fullerton actually has a beautiful hierarchy of choices.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if you go with who is this creator of the Sims and Civilization? Sid Meier.
Yeah.
Sid Meier said that a game can be defined as a series of interesting choices.
Yeah. Okay.
The problem is that if you take this, and I personally think this is much more of a pragmatic take on what a game is.
Yeah.
But if you take that as a valid position,
okay,
then if the choices aren't meaningful, there's very little chance that they're going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And you make a choice you make a choice interesting by making it meaningful and making it impactful.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. If you're not sure what the impact of your choices are, you're kind of left with a situation of, well, I'm either going to play with the way I think the game wants me to play, or I'm going to use my own moral compass as a method of dealing with this, or I'm going to just pick option C every time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you don't know, then yeah, again, it doesn't matter what you pick because you can't predict what's going to happen. Even if you're formulating an opinion on what it might potentially do in the future, you still have to go through maybe half the game to kind of figure out where, like, okay, now this makes sense, but like, do you really want to spend that much time? Because let's just talk about social consequences, right? I do know every person internally knows what consequences is going to happen on what specific decisions. So,
or at least they have a method of attempting to predict.
Yeah. So all you need to do in a way is that you have to show, or you need to expose, like not overexpose, but expose to the point that hint them that this might happen, and maybe you don't want to keep everything to the end of the game or the mid of the game to reveal. Maybe there are some minor things that changes on, or like the impacts that you can see as you're going on, right? Which is why like I find the social, the whole affinity chart here interesting, because it's a sort of a prototype, let's say, for the fact that maybe you can see visually what has happened, how your relationship has changed, and how is it gonna impact, let's say, just take one element, how trade is gonna happen between you and them. If not many, right? We just are gonna limit it to one thing.
Yeah.
So if you are in a bad relationship with someone, it might automatically mean that, hey, you can't buy these specific items from them.
Yeah.
He has them. He might either charge you 20 times more because he's the only dealer in the town who has these specific items, or he's just gonna put them away from you and he's gonna not show them to you at all.
Yeah. And these are the things that are really easy for humans to simulate, but really difficult to get a machine to simulate.
Yeah, because a machine doesn't understand. It's like emotions don't exist.
Yeah.
It's not gonna automatically happen.
Yeah.
Which is why like there's this another concept that, like, another thing I always say is that even for a game designer, they should put some effort towards understanding how these things work. I'm not saying to become a professional at coding or anything, but rather just having the understanding of, okay, it's not like I'm gonna assume and it's gonna work. Assumption is one of the worst things you can do. Seriously,
I just realized people can't see me nodding.
yeah. Oh hey, Asad, Fajri is actually not here. But hey, welcome to the stream. Today, like, my other friend is joining in, Pather. He's my junior in university, senior in life. An amazing person. I'm glad you're here. But I'll send you... Hassan is either watching it, but if he's not, I'm gonna send your regards to him. But yeah, anyways, again, we were talking about the assumption part, right? Which is about... Don't, like... It's like very annoying. I'm a programmer, right? And I'm bringing my annoyances here, but screw that. And when someone comes and says that... we have met, by the way. I don't know if you remember me or not, but hey, thanks. Still thanks. When I come back to Pakistan, we'll definitely have a meeting again, since we'll be meeting with everyone, so we'll see. Yeah, anyways, so which is about, like, someone comes into me and gives me, like, hey, this is what I want to get done, right? And I ask them that these are the details. Like, give me details, give me specifications of the thing, because
or give me some pseudocode.
Yeah, I get it, like, it's annoying for me to ask specification, and there are some things that you might think are so obvious to you. But working with codes, working with machines for such a long time, it builds in the behavior of that, it builds in the behavior of, I want these, because I know they don't understand that, so I need you to tell me what
exactly
you expect,
what you're looking for.
right? So, because if you can't tell me that, I will definitely assume some stuff that, hey, maybe this is what you're looking for, and I might not be able to give that to you because you didn't give me the specification. So what happens a lot of time, and this is like in the last 5 years of my, 4 years of my work experience, not 5, that someone says that, hey, give me this, and then they don't see that one thing they were assuming. Like, you can't see
how
my
the variable doesn't fit in.
Like, you can't see my facial expressions, but you can see the annoyance on it right now. And it's like, why is it not like that? And I'm like, wait, did you want it to be like that? I'm pretty sure you just said that I want to walk from point A to point B with using the specific things. You never mentioned that. And then, hilariously, I'm being called the dumb one because...
Well, I'm unsure how many designers have ever done the toast experiment.
Oh, that's a fun one.
The toast experiment is where you ask somebody to describe how to tell a robot to make toast.
Yeah.
And the thing is that most people instantly go, right, take the bread and the problem is the machine, what happens is the machine doesn't understand. The first thing the machine's going to ask you is, what is bread?
Yeah.
So, okay, this is bread. Take the bread. What is take? And people seem to forget that computers are really smart in some ways,
But they're
and
dumb.
really dumb in other ways.
I mean, they're smart in the mathematical sense. They can calculate.
Yes, they can do incredibly fast calculations. But what we're seeing on our screen here could be likened to a very fast spreadsheet,
Yeah.
where the coding is being translated into some beautiful pictures. But if we were to break it down to its most abstracted form, it is what is the input at this time frame.
Yeah.
Okay, now run the numbers. Numbers get run, the results get applied. When result A1 is reached,
Yep.
display change to A1. When result A2 is reached, display change to A2.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. You have to be able to explain to a coder what it is that you're looking at.
Yeah.
I'm currently working on dialogue trees
Yep.
for the learning game that I'm working with. And the first thing that I had to do for it, for my own safety and sanity,
Yeah.
was attempt to construct a pseudocode and try to construct a format so that I could easily take this to the developers, who are the coders, because I am not a coder, and be able to turn around to them and say, hi, this is what we want to be able to happen. We want to basically have this, then this, and here's the interaction loop
Yeah.
for it. And here is, if they're giving utterance 1A, go to node B or whatever.
Yeah.
But most designers don't think in those terms. They think in terms of, oh, well, I need to have a certain amount of dialogue options.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have a certain amount of dialogue options, and then when you click on the player character, it will reveal the dialogue option.
Yeah.
The issue with this is, even with point-and-click adventure games, if you attack it from that perspective, you end up with a situation in which you end up with a huge chunk of text
Yeah.
right in front of the player, which most players aren't going to bother to read.
Yep.
They're just going to press A or B to skip through it, because they know if they just keep pressing A, then everything will eventually work out.
Yeah. Eventually it will. But doesn't mean it works out in the
In
right
the way that they
way.
expect it. And this is the thing with learning games is, honestly, you have to be thinking in terms of the data analytics that you're building into
Yeah.
the system from the start, because it's much easier to build the data analytics into the system than it is to it's much easier to build the data analytics in from the start rather than try to construct something after
Yeah.
it has already finished.
Yeah.
Too often when it comes to learning games, and I personally believe that all games are learning games.
Yeah, well, basically, like, in the end, we are all treating them as a games,
Yeah.
right? We're just adding a term to it, which
Yeah.
means we are adding a intention
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. Well, it's productive versus a productive or educational experience, as Dewey would put it,
Yeah.
rather than just an experience.
Yeah.
And an educational experience has something of inherent value to it.
Yeah.
But that's another story entirely.
Oh, yeah,
The thing
definitely.
is that
It blew up again.
too often the stakeholders involved in the educational games,
Yeah,
they want to just, they don't think in terms of how it's being deployed. They don't think in terms of, is this a standalone element? Is
Yeah.
this an integrated element? Is it a learning game?
Yeah.
Is it a pedagogical game? Is it a epistemological game? Is it a game that teaches people how to think?
yeah. Also, hey Ashad, Hassan's not here right now. He's playing a different game, but welcome to the stream. We're talking about some random stuff, so I hope you enjoy. But yeah, continue, please.
So the problem is that they then try to create those things
Yeah.
out of without the doing it from the start.
Yeah,
If you are building a system, it's
Yeah.
much easier to build the house in order than it is to install the new system into it after you've already completed it.
yeah. But like my point is like, so programmers kind of become, like, in terms of game development, right? Programmers kind of become these people who are dealing with multiple fields, because at the end of the day they are the ones who have to integrate these things into it. So in a way, programmers have to either wanting or not, they have to put efforts toward understanding these other elements that they don't necessarily have to do it, but they have to, because if they don't, they won't be able to do it right. Which is kind of like the same thing. It makes the process easier at the end of the day. So
But on the flip side of the coin is
Yeah.
that it's incredibly important for the designer
yeah,
and for the conceptual workers to be able to speak enough of the same language.
basically it's a communication
Yeah.
barrier that we create because we don't understand the
Indeed.
other's language, even if it is English.
Yes. Now, I want to make the joke from Oscar Wilde at this point of, the difference between America and England is
Yeah.
they're two nations divided by a common language.
Yeah, that's.
Um,
I mean, at this point, let's just say America is well divided by itself.
no, it's not yet.
anyways, let's not make it complicated. But yeah,
this is the thing.
Yeah.
As a designer,
yeah,
which is what I hope to be, I am not going to be programming myself.
yeah,
But I have to understand enough of the key concepts
yeah.
to be able to effectively communicate what it is that I'm looking for in a game.
Mm-hmm.
My personal interest in games, and specifically
Yeah,
in games in the future,
yeah,
is war games for planning and for predictive analysis and business training.
mm-hmm.
Because this can be an incredibly effective tool in helping people to understand unsure futures
Yeah,
and to work with stuff like that. I doubt that I will ever work in a AAA studio.
you never know.
Yeah. But-
You're getting into the field of gaming, and there is always a chance you'll end up in places where
Yeah.
you didn't expect to be. I didn't expect to be doing learning games, to be honest. I have intentionally tried to avoid not working on virtual reality games, and somehow I still end up there for some freaking reason. It's just like everything.
Never say never.
Yeah, that as well, but also like the concepts are just so transferable that it doesn't matter. You're going to do a learning game at one side. If you've gone through if you know how to design, you can implement that in a different environment as well, as long as you know that you have to think on it, and these are series of choices instead of just instead of just, oh, okay, this is the best option I can pick, and I'll just do that, which is honestly quite annoying.
Well, the thing is that people always forget that choices are always trade-offs.
Yeah.
And anybody borrowing from the West Wing, as I said earlier, I'm going to be filling with references that are dating me. One of my favorite episodes was the debate that Bartlett has, and he says what was it? In this sort of business, or in the business of being the president, there are very few days with simple answers, and those days always have body counts.
Oh,
so
damn, that's good.
Yeah.
Say,
so that's the thing. When you're designing something, or when you're working on something, especially something complex, there are very few days that have simple answers to them, and you need every ability to deal with the complexity that you're going to be finding. Without complexity is not a sin. Yeah. And recognizing that something is difficult is not a sin.
I mean, that's, I think, kind of like where things begins, is that you first need to recognize that it's difficult, because if making games was a simple answer as, oh, I want to make a game, I'll install an engine and I'll code a few lines of code and the game will be there.
Well, technically it is, but there's a difference between building something and designing something.
I mean, let's go to the when games were firstly made, right? If we look from the perception of the previous games, I'm pretty sure a lot of people just find it so easy to make those things, because now you have the tools available to make these things faster. But back in the day, when things were more about assembly and you need to work with pixels, that was the design process. If you're talking about ping pong, right? Not on the oscilloscope. Even if you're talking about the one on the oscilloscope, I'm talking about the one that was made on desktop. That was the design process as to, okay, this is the game. This is the game, and mechanically, which pixels needs to light up, and how do they need to light up,
and what are the interactions?
What are the interactions, and how those interactions are shown on the screen, right?
But if we go even further back than computer games, let's go back to the 1800s in Kriegspiel. Let's go to the creation of card games and board games that create interesting situations and things to discuss and talk about. We could go back to the 1930s, oddly enough, for the foundation and first examples of LARPing. Which is fascinating. Or the moral dilemmas of the Victorian period. With the moral dilemma stories. I mean, I think it was, I can't remember the name of the guy from the quote, but the most difficult and admirable task a man can undertake is the creation of good games. So the process goes for a long time. It's just the tools are becoming a lot easier to get a hold of. But in the same regard, how shall I put this? In the same regard that it has become a lot easier to get a hold of a computer and a word processor. Just because the tool is readily available doesn't mean that everybody can suddenly write a masterpiece.
Of course not.
Of literature.
But that's
now
where
it increases the chances that people could.
I mean, literature might increase, because let me give you an example. With the introduction of engines, right? Making games is very easy. You can, you make the game the moment you install the engine and you open up the template. And you modify it a bit and the game is there. you have the basic rulings out. And if you're getting into more complex side, like if you're picking up, like if you, let's say you've spent a year on just coding and compiling stuff, there are definitely things that enable you to make a game, make beautiful environments, make pick up, like not necessarily make beautiful environments, but assemble would be the right word to do so.
Yes. The tools are there, and the tools
Yeah.
can make things
Easier.
But just by the expedience of paper becoming cheaper,
Yeah.
we saw an increase in the amount of books
Yeah.
being produced. However, just because the tools are there doesn't necessarily mean that
The
you're
books are
not
gonna
going to you're not going to be able to produce anything unique or interesting.
Yeah.
And this seems to be the misnomer. Just because the tools are there doesn't mean that you're going to be able to create something meaningful.
Yeah.
That takes work.
That always.
And the one problem that I see
Yeah.
happening around people who are in my course is the almost dislike of paper prototyping and old school prototyping.
Yeah.
And by paper prototyping, I don't mean UX UI design prototyping.
No, that's again another
That's
another
another
very
field.
very very weird thing that goes around, and like there's more to it.
Yeah. You have to simulate the system.
Like, okay, I'm gonna give another example that's just in support, but I'm gonna come to the video game side, right? When we talk about prototyping, we never expect that you are making me something that's beautiful. Maybe you're defining a concept and you're producing some sort of art to show that maybe this is how it's gonna look, but the product is not something you expect to be beautiful.
Yeah.
So what's happened? Yeah.
But there's a difference between not beautiful and not playable.
Yeah, there is a huge difference. But that's what I'm saying. With prototyping, what you're achieving is not beautiful, but you are achieving it to be playable, to know what you're doing with
Yeah,
it.
it's a test
right?
bed.
Exactly. And a lot of times when I talk about prototypes to people, it's like the talks that come around are like, oh, I am missing a sound designer, I am missing a concept artist, I am missing this,
Yes,
and
but tell me about your game.
yeah, and
What are the choices that the player's going to make?
Yeah.
What is the player going to do?
which is very difficult to deal with. It's like the moment I would say to them that, hey, I don't think you're going for a prototype. What you're trying to do is build a final project, which is not something you should do. The response I get is the expression of discontent on the face, and they say, oh.
Yeah, there's the problem is that, and this could theoretically be seen as the game jam problem,
Yeah,
which is the game jams, wonderful opportunities.
Yeah.
Fabulous ability to check your skills, to learn and to push yourself and to
Yeah.
take a random thing and see where you can run with it.
yep,
The problem is when, as a community, we start awarding prizes not based on
a design or
design
the gameplay.
or the gameplay or the mechanics that have been executed, but based on how beautiful and how
Yeah.
polished the thing looks after 2 days. This is sending the wrong message
Yeah.
about what is important in game design.
Which is actually a very disheartening thing, because at the end of the day, maybe the high concept was really good. The concept art I produced was really good. My game design itself might have been good, and my gameplay of it, because I've put effort toward pushing it, might have been good. But what happens is that in 2 days, how many obstacles can I tackle?
Yeah.
That's limited.
Yeah.
Right?
Honestly, the thing that I would love to see happen in
Yeah.
a game jam is an analog game jam.
Oh, okay, yeah.
A completely analog game jam. Here are some paper, here's some paper, some dice, whatever. You are going to spend the next 2 days producing paper prototypes.
Yeah.
And the paper prototype for your game mechanics.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all we want to see is the paper prototypes. And we're going to judge it based on the theme and based on the paper prototype.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many winners,
Yeah.
which are beautiful, but are either single button press games,
Yeah.
or dating sims, or very, so the mechanics are well established,
Yeah.
or or in some cases with the interactive narrative
Yeah.
are jokes, are non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they're still winning all these awards because you can polish something like that incredibly fast.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about one button click, it's basically like the takeoff to the trade-off for beauty was that you limited everything to just one button at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the thing is, like, for those who don't know game jams are basically 2 days event. Usually that's the common format where you get 48 hours to form a team on the spot. And you're being given a theme at the start of the day and you're being asked that, hey, make a game. So you have 48 hours to do that with you can bring people from home, but the suggested thing is to go out, meet new people, because that's what's going to make the experience better. You make connections and stuff, and then you have a theme and work on it. Yeah.
Which can be an absolutely fabulous experience.
Yeah.
And an incredibly useful experience.
Yeah. Because in life you're not going to be, like, the thing is, the idea is in life you're not going to be able to work with people you like usually.
Yeah.
And as long as they're not assholes to you, as long as they're not disrespectful pricks to you, you got to find ways to work with them. I'm looking for a specific item here. I don't think I should be doing that right now. Anyways, I'm going to change the quest. But yeah, that's interesting because the awards and stuff are not the problem per se. It's all right to award things, but it does create concerns with when it comes to what you are awarding exactly.
Yeah, this is the thing, and this is one of the things that I've had to explain as a teacher.
Yeah.
The thing that you are putting an award on is sending a signal about what is valued.
Yeah.
Now, the other potential problem with game jams is that it potentially lionizes the crunch.
Yeah.
It potentially lionizes and says, hey, the crunch is something that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, fair enough, the crunch happens.
Yep.
But it shouldn't be an expectation.
No, it should that's just a bad management practice. It's not something that should be explored in the first place. So yeah, no, I completely agree to that. It's like even at our place, at my workplace, crunches have happened, but they've not happened at like so often that we just expect that, hey, actually we are going to be at crunch at every month and this specific time, right? And that's why I kind of enjoy my workplace. Oh no, okay, good.
Okay, you survived?
Yeah, I survived. No, I needed to jump into the water, so I did. I'm just gonna switch that to nighttime. I think that's when these things appear. Yeah, there you go. Anyways, yeah, I've got a lot of ways to swim, but yeah, so making, like, promoting the idea that crunch time is something that should happen at all times, it's just a bad work ethic. A company forcing that is not
A company
like
that's forcing that
Yeah.
is immoral.
yeah, it's just shouldn't happen, right? And specifically, like when I was working in Pakistan, one of the biggest problems I faced is that every place I went to was basically a complete crunch. It's like I'm being paid for 8 hours, but I'm expected
To put in
to
16.
put in 16
And
hours.
that's wage theft.
Yeah,
That is literally an employer taking advantage
Yeah.
of their staff.
so honestly, from the experience, it's not a fun thing either. It's psychologically just a massive mess.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel rewarded for what you do in the first place, and like everyone has life to live outside. It's as simple as that. But the thing is,
Let's keep
Uh,
going like this.
if you give people opportunity to make it a culture, they will. Now, when it comes to Game Jam don't exactly promote the crunch time period. It promotes that, hey, you're here, chill out, enjoy, and work on something that you like. Don't stay up 2 nights in a row to do something massive. If you're doing it, then you're doing it for your own self. I do get the idea. Like, I
But
do know where you're
type-
coming
type-
from.
Type A personalities
Yeah.
are not going to look at it in that perspective.
It's fine. But
Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the intention.
it's not the intention, but
But intention are very rarely intentions and
oh no, sure.
do intentions and actions coincide?
Agora Shore. Where is Agora Shore? Have I not explored that area? That is interesting. Do I need to? Ooh, maybe I need to go there. Okay, we'll come there later. But no, it's I agree. Intention is not there, but people do want to work on better projects for their own selves, and that's why they would crunch out for it. Because at the end of the day, they do want to win that award if the place has it.
Potential.
All right.
And the bragging rights.
Yeah.
But there's a danger of it becoming almost Navy SEAL methodology, Navy SEAL mentality of, hey, you're only hardcore if if you're able to put in.
Oh no, it's getting into the Heroes Complex,
The
Heroes
Complex,
Complex
Where-
zone at this
and
point.
if your work is relying on
Yeah.
you behaving like a hero and not treating you in a regard to help you on this one,
Yeah,
they're taking advantage of you.
yeah, no, definitely. That's that's just bad, right? So I do want to go to more game jams.
Oh, I
but
do
like
too.
if you remember the last Ludamdare we had at university, so what we did was, instead of making the game, we decided to sit down
And explore
just
the methodology. and-
So we ended up coming with 3 games.
Yeah.
And they were kind of playable if we were to just make a
If
few
we
paper
needed
cuts for it.
Yeah, we needed a couple of bits and pieces.
Yeah,
But it could have been done.
it could have been done.
But again, maybe it's just the Luddite in me that I always think that paper prototyping can end up saving you so much heartache.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately seems to be a less popular thing than it could or should be,
Yeah.
which is just unfortunate.
Definitely. But that's why like kind of it's also the promotion of culture, right? That you shouldn't. I think it's happening over time that people are coming to an understanding that you don't have to work that much, because ultimately what happens is that if you work 3 days in a row, 72 hours like straight, you are gonna pay the debts that you've, the stress that you have accumulated over the time, and you're paying it with that.
Yeah.
So you are gonna slow yourself down, and ultimately you're still doing the same
And
amount of.
you're not going to be as creative as you could be.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the best work out of you.
Yeah.
Now, the the big issue is when an employer uses psychological manipulation on this one.
Yeah.
And one of the classic tools that they'll do is they'll try to build up a hero complex. And it'll be, hey, hey man, we need more like you. Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but while it's important to create good games, and I am invested in creating good games, and I want to create better learning games and learning environments for everybody in the world, I also love my wife and love my family, and
I love my streams. I need to do them more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
There's got to be more to your life
Yeah.
than sacrificing yourself on the altar of work.
Yeah, because this is what I like. Like, hey, look, my job still requires me to do a lot of work, but at the same time, I'm sitting here right now, and I'm doing this because it's enabling me to do the freaking thing, right? And for me, that is amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sacrificing other than what 8 hours I have to put in there. And what that gives to me is basically the ability to put more into it sometimes when required. If a crunch happens, I'm ready for it. That, hey, it's not this regular thing that I just have to jump in on over and over again. I am going to jump in if it's required, but I'm not required to do so. But I want to do that because, hey, you're supporting me in specific ways, and I want to support that back. But that doesn't mean that, so that's the thing. That's the culture that needs to be
the culture that always needs to be viewed.
Yeah.
And to be careful about.
Yeah.
It is. It's difficult, and it's important to remember that you've got to have a life-work balance.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
If you don't have a life-work balance, you're just asking for nightmare.
Ooh, yeah. No, I totally agree to that. It's kind of like I have been in a situation where what happened was I was already like extremely depressed, and this comes from approximately 4 years ago, and or 4 years ago, and it's so awful that I decided to join a place because I was asked by a friend, right? And if any of you have actually experienced depression, you should know it's very easy to fuck you over and screw your day. And not just a day, it's probably going to be a week, or it might just be a month. And the only thing that I joined in for a friend so I could help them out. And I had to put in a lot more work than I should have, but it only continued for like 2 months. That's it. And in 2 months I was basically dead.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, no, it's very difficult. That's why finding a place where you would feel comfortable is important, because at the end of the day, I think what everyone kind of needs is this sense that, like, if someone can build up the sense that, hey, I'm still gonna get my job, a job if I leave this specific place.
Yeah.
And that sense is very important, because I do know so many people who are extremely skilled, and they would definitely get a job at a better place, but just because of how the culture might have been, or how they might have been treated at the workplace, or how their seniors might have been, like, these things add up to it. They basically feel that, we can't do that. The moment I'm gonna leave.
Never believe anybody who says you can't do something.
Yeah.
Go out and prove them damn wrong. But it's you're going to have to deal with some of the flack back on it.
Oh well, that's
it's just
part
the
of it,
nature
right?
of the world, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to realize this, and the sooner you realize that, the better.
Yeah. So, damn it. It's not letting me go in there because it's a freaking wasteland. I need to find the reactor. I'm gonna walk around here. But yeah, no, crunches have become a very deep part of game dev industry, especially because there have been cases where like people have not been offered job because they were just being asked that, oh, are you gonna put overtime if need be, and
the thing is that if overtime is happening, it's a sign of failure of your production team.
Yeah.
It's a sign that your project management didn't successfully estimate how much time was available or how much time was necessary for the particular tasks.
Yeah, like I can understand that point from like I can understand that in new projects, the new organizations,
and the new teams,
that kind of thing happens. And even in the most professional teams, that can happen. But if you're seeing it over and over again, and like
again, where it's becoming the culture, then there are a couple of things potentially happening. Either one, the person in charge is not the person who's doing the project management side of it, isn't doing it effectively, or there's something else that's happening. Or there's a production backlog. But and this is the thing, I haven't worked in a professional studio, but how often do postmortems happen of the project team?
That's I think like one of the things is that I'm gonna point to specifics from last 4 years of experience where crunches has happened in my specific case, right? One of the actually, I'm gonna go through multiple. I'm not gonna give a count because I don't know how many it's gonna come out at the end of it. But I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible. So, one very like first of the things which is like very common that I've observed which can cause crunch is the pipeline, because a bottleneck can happen at any part of the pipeline, whether that be from the leads, whether that be from the lower people. But the thing is, the responsibility of leads is to make sure that these blocks don't happen.
Or that they get resolved.
They get resolved if they do, right? But like, if you're in a lead position, your job is not to just work as like, oh, okay, do the job, or I'm gonna take this part of it, you take this part of it, you take this part of it. It is part of, but like, it has a huge management thing attached to it.
There is a reason why the project management certification, if you ever get a chance, take a look at the sort of 3,000 page book on PMP certification. It's a field, and nobody believes they need a designer until they try to design something. Nobody thinks that they need project manager until the project goes to hell in a handbasket. And this is the thing. Everybody is like, "Oh no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We don't need a designer. We'll just do it this way. We'll be fine." And I've been guilty myself of
same. I'm not gonna
like that.
Like in my case, I can at least excuse that for God-forsaken reason. I've always been in the position, even when I didn't have an experience, that I had to lead a team. So no, I've done all of the problematic things, which is why I can recognize them.
But you learn from your mistakes. The reason I was asking about the post-mortem.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that, right? So that's one of the things. Another thing, like, fricks, I need to look up the paper, but the line was, Oh, actually, that was from paper as well. And one of the interviewers for my thesis. This is amazing. Like doing a thesis is amazing because you get so much information, and sometimes things you don't even know you needed. It's the line was that I have to deal with so many egos, and trust me, even if it sounds offensive, it needs to be taken into account that you are dealing with people and all of the people have different mentality. And what I would say is that the biggest thing that a lot of people, specifically on lead positions in my experience, that they forget to deal with is their own ego.
Yeah.
Because you are in the position of power, sometimes you can just forget about the problems you create.
Yes.
And you push them towards the people who might not be creating these things. And for me, I've seen like bottlenecks and the crunches and the backlog of work that comes a lot of times from leads than anyone underneath it.
Yeah, no, it's a discipline.
Yeah.
Understanding how to do it. But this is the way that you develop that discipline into a business is that you need regular meetings of, okay, what's going wrong? And no bullshit meetings.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I've sat through enough bullshit meetings where everybody claps each other on the back and goes, "Yay, aren't we all great? Yes, we had this problem, but we solved it. I'm great." No, don't tell me about the problem that you solved. Tell me about the problem that you're struggling with. Tell me about the problem that's completely and utterly effed the bed.
Yeah.
Or fucked up so badly that, there was nothing that could be done about it. And then we can go, okay, right. Now we can turn around and actually deal with something.
Yep.
Now we can learn from the process. Why did it go that way? How can we make sure that it doesn't happen that way again? Do we need to change our time projection models?
Yep.
Do we need to change the models of our cost analysis models? Do we need to X, Y, or Z? And those models are out there and they are available. It's just getting people to actually use them. Nobody believes they need a project manager until after a project has fallen apart.
Yeah.
And it's the IT curse.
Yeah, definitely.
Nobody believes that they need an IT. If
they
have an IT department, they don't believe that they need an IT department because everything's working fine.
This is so amazing because this has been the case when the .NET boom happened, right? This was like companies know that they need computers, they need some servers, they need everything, and they hired IT guys. And oh my god, I have friends who have been in position who set up the companies because it was profitable thing, and they did all of the job, and because they couldn't see a problem in a few months that hey, everything is working fine, and they just got like, oh, we don't need you anymore. It's not like you're doing anything.
It's the quintessential but we don't need that anymore.
Exactly.
Well, actually, you needed to be able to maintain the thing that you've attempted to put into place.
Which is the same thing. I would say which is the same thing. Quality assurance guys. Face, because quality assurance is
that one there because there wasn't a string across it.
What?
Oh no, there's the stairs. Never mind.
Oh yeah. So here's the thing with quality assurance guys is that their job is more than just to look at the product as well. It's also kind of like comes with the nature as to hey, you can maybe improve this procedure, which can honestly piss people off.
Oh yeah.
But it's their job.
It's their job. Let them do their jobs.
And the thing is, in terms of like production, in terms of games, in terms of let's say even cut cinematics and stuff like that, they are hired when things are shit. And immediately when like things go things go all right,
go better.
Get fired, like what are you even doing? I don't even think you're putting like enough work time, right? And it's like, yes, I am. It's like maybe you're ignoring the suggestions I'm giving to you or something like that, which is why you don't feel that way.
One of my favorite Dilbert cartoons
Yeah.
had to be a moment where he's like, how come I get to charge the 4 hours a day at work
Yeah.
that I spend thinking about my lunch to the company expense account, but the 20 minutes that I design circuit diagrams in my shower every morning in my head,
Yeah.
I can't charge. And this is it.
Nice.
A lot of the work of a designer in terms of the
Yeah.
the design elements of it is conceptual work that you need the time to sit down in a quiet room, whiteboards all around you,
Yeah.
with the basic premises, and just hash through. Okay, where are my fundamental building blocks?
Yeah.
Where do I move from? Okay, there's this fundamental building block. There's this fundamental. Okay, this is a precursor to this, so this is how I create my backlog.
Yep.
This is the stuff that can be. These are the things that have to be built first. Right. Let's ship these out to the design team. Let's ship these out to this team. Let's ship these out to this team.
Yeah.
And let's get these things working for everybody.
Yeah.
So that everybody's doing their work. But the problem is that nobody really sees that work.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And because it's invisible work,
It
poor
gets
little
ignored.
poor little bugworm. You're only level 10. What are you doing?
I just wanted to walk by, but it didn't let me go. I forgot about it. Anyways, like building up to the. I'm gonna build up. I have one more point before I get to the postmortem. So another thing that creates huge crunches is one thing that most of the people hate to do a lot, but is a very important part of any project: documentation. Oh my god, the amount of time that documentations can save lives,
Yeah.
technically.
Well, the thing that I had to tell teachers who
Yeah.
were turning around and going, why do I need to keep documentation of my classes? And I had to look at a teacher and explain, it's there not necessarily for you,
Yeah.
but in case you get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
And God forbid, we don't want that to happen. But if it does happen, we
exactly.
don't want the students to suffer, and we don't want
Teachers who are going to replace them to
the
suffer.
teacher who replaces you who suffer, and we don't want the fact that these things aren't all in place to mean that your job gets put at risk
Yeah.
because of it. Again, documentation. Nobody likes doing documentation, but again, I'd put that right up there with you don't know you need it until you don't bloom and have it.
Oh, definitely. It's such a huge thing at this point that it's sort of an annoyance. And what I basically did was I just went out and I said, like, yeah, every programmer's wet dream is at this point a fucking documentation. But
In my case, what really annoys me is when people don't read the documentation.
Oh no, that's a part two. That's part two. There is definitely having the documentation. I've experienced both of them. I love to do documentation, but the thing is, I can only document the things that are under my control. Right? I can't go on documenting everyone's things, but like everyone has to do their part. Someone needs to collab, someone needs to join it in together, and someone needs to be there. Maybe the project manager does that, maybe someone else does that, I don't know. But someone does have to put effort towards the thing, because here's the thing, I'm gonna say this one other thing as well, where documentation doesn't necessarily have to be this epically structured something. At one point, yeah, but in terms of games, they are never structured to the point where you finalize it and say this is the final thing and it's not going to change, because if you do that, game is going to screw you over.
Yeah, there's always
Yeah. It's a creative process. That's all there is to it. And why are you coming towards me?
They just got
Yeah,
aggro.
I'm leaving. Anyways, yeah. So it's a really important thing for designers as well. Specifically, if you are a game designer or a narrative designer or any sort of freaking designer,
Yeah.
you need to have the skills to build documents. If you don't, I think you're useless. Because here's the thing, right? You can present your concept on a whiteboard, and that's all right. But the thing is, tomorrow your concept might change.
Yeah.
What do I do then?
Yeah. Or what's my next task?
Yeah, like I might be actually working for next 40 hours or 80 hours on something
that hasn't
that
been
has
updated.
changed.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because hey, someone forgot to change update or
update the main
create
document.
the document, and that is one of the biggest causes for bottlenecks, because I wasted 2 weeks on something else, and now you tell me you do this when this is the time for me to do something else.
Yeah. No, it's one of those ones where you've got to have that sorted out.
Yeah, no, it's like my serious opinion, and I don't think I'm ever gonna change. As a designer, I don't think you need to have extreme programming skills. I don't think you need to have extreme drawing skills. I don't even think like you need to have some sort of extreme extraordinary brain to come up with some creative shit.
No.
What you need to have is ability to look at things and be able to create a sort of a holistic connection out of it. Maybe it might even take 2 years, who knows? It's all right.
And you need to explain your vision.
You need to have the abilities to communicate that. And the third thing, which is very crucial, is you need to be able to fucking create the documents, because documents are a sort of a contract between the designer and everyone else, because this is where you come back to say that, hey, are we still on the right path?
Yeah.
If something has changed, do we need to update?
If something, well, and the other thing is, those are the areas where it should be, okay, and this section is now locked.
Yeah, it's locked.
So
it's feature locked. It's narrative
Feature
like
locked, narrative locked, whatever.
whatever.
This is locked at this point.
Yeah.
At which point will be no changes. Any changes that are done to this system at this stage will have so much of a knock-on effect
Yeah.
that it is no longer worth it to make changes to this system.
Yeah.
I showed you the server earlier today, and that was the heart attack moment that I had with it. I was like, maybe we need to go back to first principles, and I'm like, oh
no,
I just watched my entire 4 months worth of part-time work go looking like it was about to sail out the window. And
that's just an honestly awful feeling.
Yeah. Bless you.
Thanks. The good thing about these mics is that it doesn't pick up that much noise if I move it away from. But no, that's the fourth thing. Now, the reason why I've mentioned the last 3 points, it took me a bit of time, but here's the thing. You were talking about postmortems. They are an amazing thing to do, and I think you shouldn't only do postmortem of the games that you make, but you should sit down to postmortem other games.
Yeah. Or not just other games, but any project.
Yeah.
If it succeeded or failed. It needs to be.
Don't look at successes. Like if something has failed, think about why it failed out.
Yep.
Like so I'm just gonna pause here for a second.
Well,
This
nice view
scene
for it.
This scene is freaking beautiful from my point of view. And to achieve this whole thing, how difficult it would be on memory. This is a 2010 game, and I can go to Wii, and they have still been able to simulate this whole thing. This is like an upgraded version of it. But
it's a beautifully rendered, it's incredibly well put together.
Exactly. But what did they do to optimize it so it runs? That's the interesting part of it. All of those clouds that you see up there, they are not clouds generated out of particle systems or something like that. They are actually a sky map that travels along
makes sense.
And because it's already there, what you like, this is my perception, by the way. I can be wrong about it, but if I were to be there, that's what I would do. You pick up a material, you layered up the material on your skybox, and you decided to switch around, which is much cheaper in operation. Like, from technical point of view, for me, this is amazing because it's a cheaper operation to do, and it doesn't look bad. Another thing, if you still haven't noticed it, look behind the clouds. From this distance, designers know that that's not something I'm going to go close to see.
So
And it's not a 3D model.
it's a matte painting? Or
It's just an image that's just there. And that makes it amazing, right? You didn't waste the poly count you would have wasted otherwise.
Yeah. No, there are definite tricks that you can pull.
Yeah.
One of the tricks that I would pull, and I assume that they've done, is if you notice the clone in the background.
Yeah.
So we have the foreground of the archway, and then in the background we have almost a clone of the same one.
Yeah.
Just staggered further
It is.
back.
It
so
is.
It's,
It's kind of fulfilling. It's repeating and it's filling the environment that it's not empty.
Yeah.
And this is why the game looks beautiful. Because you don't feel like you're moving in the empty
you
places.
don't feel constrained.
Another thing, like in this specific postmortem, is that if you look around, right, even though you don't see a lot of creatures, there are a few,
Yeah.
right? But like, there is enough movement going on around for you to feel that you're not alone.
Yeah.
You see lights, you see different things, and like, okay, the monsters increase, which makes it more lively. And that's the thing, like,
The one thing that I get slightly weirded out on the physics side of this
okay.
is the fact that the grass behaves in clumps.
Yeah, because
Again, it's
it's a technical limitation as well.
But it does mean that you get contradictory wind flow indications, which can be a little disconcerting. Because it's like, oh, which way is the wind actually blowing? Well, this thing is saying it's this way, and this way. So
yeah, no, I can see what you mean, but mostly the wind direction. Like, what probably happened is that there's definitely a wind direction that's affecting it, but there might have been an orientation problem to how they put in there.
Yeah.
So it might have caused that.
Yeah.
But in the long run, if you just see there and if you're moving through it, you're not going to notice this
until if you're in motion,
Yeah.
you're not going to be focused on that.
until you sit down and look at it, which is why the postmortems are important from my point of view. And so the reason why I mentioned the last 3 points is that to do a postmortem, for one, you do require a huge amount of time to postmortem your own game, because you aren't going to be just sitting down. You will be looking at all of the components that are part of the game. And you should give that time, because you need to see if what you're doing is okay or not.
Yeah.
Now, why, like, at least in my experience, why postmorteming doesn't happen is because, for one, it is not even considered an option that maybe we can do this. Which might, like, to some people might go like, why? But this is like something you should do because it's a review of sort.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not something that's immediately in someone's mind, interestingly.
Yeah. Which is just an unfortunate.
Yeah. Another reason why it doesn't happen is because for postmorteming, if you're doing it in that specific environment, you need to learn to freaking do documentation. You can't just say that, hey, this is the thing I saw and this is probably bug. That's not a postmortem.
That's not a postmortem.
Postmortem is basically you opening that fucking bag and going through every thing and, you know, seeing what, okay, did it die like this? Can it die like this? And stuff like that. That's the second thing. The third thing that actually does affect the whole postmortem thing is the egos of people who are leading the whole thing. Now, I don't know.
This is one of the reasons why you have to employ a project manager who's
I'm gonna come to that as well.
Not in it on the ego job.
I'm gonna come in there as well. Don't worry. That's the thing. Like, so the reason why I think why ego is involved there is because during the project, it's not when the postmortem time comes in. if you have a postmortem thing, it's when during the project when you talk to specific leads about certain ideas. If they have huge egos, they are gonna shut you down, and that shutdown hurts.
Oh yeah. Well, you start wondering why I should bother.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I gave you a suggestion because you said that this is an open environment and I can talk about stuff and I can say that, hey, this thing doesn't work out, so I decided to give you a suggestion.
Yeah.
I literally came to you and I'm like, hey, you see, this thing that you've designed, I think this is a flaw in it, and I think this is how you can improve it. And they literally just go like, what the fuck do you know? You just came into industry.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an issue.
Right?
Definitely.
Which is why I mentioned the 3 points before. Like, I didn't know which points I'm going to mention because I needed to mention these few things. There might be quite a few more things that I can mention, but not right now. And that's just one of the examples. Another way to shut down would be someone accepting to what you said, and then behind your back, they basically change change the agreement. Because here's the thing. A lead always has a bigger hierarchy than you. Their decisions are always going to supersede you.
Yeah.
Don't be in the illusion that your decision is going to hold more power than your leads.
Yeah.
If your lead is good, a good lead would take it under consideration and agree that, hey, this thing can be changed. But if you want to spot a toxic lead, the simple thing is, if they don't have the capacity to argument, also by the way, I do think in a lead, one of the most important components they need to have is the ability to listen and the ability to take arguments.
Yeah.
If they can't, don't fucking follow them.
Yeah. Well, the classic one for me is listen to my point of view.
Yeah.
Be willing to say, okay, I've taken it into consideration.
Yeah.
We're not doing it for this reason,
Yeah.
this reason, and this reason. And then, okay,
It's fine.
You're fine.
That's freaking awesome.
That's awesome. I know where we stand. That's great. Do not, under any circumstances, try to turn around and go, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
because
you don't.
That's setting up a confrontation, not setting up a situation where
Oh
we can
no,
work through
that's
these things.
that's just so absolutely horrible.
Oh yeah,
Because
I've been there. It's
I have been there as well, and I've been going through that for such a long time. Even though like it's just weird, but like even worse is when someone agrees to you and they don't have this. They don't have the decency to argue with you, and they don't have the decency to tell you no.
yeah.
But instead what they do is they're gonna say, okay, you keep on working it. You keep on working for a certain period of time,
yeah.
and then you go towards them and they're like, hey, here's the thing, right? And they tell you that, oh, we've changed the design and this is the new design. It's
like you have just wasted so much of my
it's
time.
not just it's about respect.
Yeah.
No matter what position you're in, people need to respect you. It doesn't mean that they are higher than you or they are lower than you. Respect needs to exist, and you're not respecting the discussions is just like, hey, if that happens to you ever, I am gonna say this: move away from that fucking person.
Yeah.
Someone telling you like you see someone telling you on the face that you don't fucking know anything still has a possibly future solution that you can talk to them off time, or you can bring it up that, hey, you said this and this is freaking horrible, and here's the thing, you talked about allowance of creativity, so here's the thing, if you don't want creativity out of me,
Then
give me exact directions and I will do it, but don't do what you just did to me. See, you can
what I had to say at one stage was either ask me to do something, at which point I have freedom of choice on how it gets accomplished, or give me instructions on what you want done.
exactly treat me like a computer, like we said, and give me the freaking instructions to everything you want get done.
This caused a great deal of trouble in the relationship I had, because it was a situation of I don't want you to do the dishes. I want you to notice that the dishes
Are done.
need to be done, and I want you to want to do the dishes.
Oh my god, no.
And I'm like, my brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah. But here's the thing. The compromises are still a thing, and at some point you can do it. But anyways, not coming to relationships.
Yeah.
I think we need to save that talk for
another day.
another day. Like we'll come
well,
to.
the thing is that there
Yeah.
is no, the difference between a work relationship and a emotional relationship. There isn't as much as some people would like to believe.
Yeah.
You still have a relationship
Yeah, definitely.
with the person, and sometimes it can be useful to ask yourself, am I in a toxic work environment?
Oh yeah.
Am I in a toxic work relationship?
But these are the signs,
Yeah.
right?
These are the signs.
Because here's,
if
I'm
you
gonna
wouldn't be happy
yeah.
in an emotional relationship in this place, why the hell are you staying for a
yeah, no,
a
definitely.
paycheck?
Yeah. But that's where like I'm gonna go back to the same thing that you need to realize if you were hired by here, you can definitely get hired at other places as well.
Yep.
You need to have confidence. They got you in for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, I think the biggest thing that happens is that a lot of toxicity in a work relationship, at least in my experience, has always come from the direct lead, because they are the control tower for what goes under and for the culture that happens in a fucking department. Like the office culture aside, they are responsible for the culture that happens in a specific environment.
And their team culture
Yeah.
and team environment.
And they are the prime source of communication between your department, the other departments, and the hierarchy. If they can't communicate, and this is how they treat you, by rejecting you,
Then
just don't expect your work experience to be good
Yeah.
in any way. Your initial control tower literally failed you.
Yeah.
How do you expect to survive in any possibly better way if your initial communication just fails out on you? Right?
this is kind of the problem of
Yeah.
the place.
Also, one other thing, like if these kind of things happen, oh,
Oh,
who are you? Okay, metabolism, cool. So yeah, if that kind of happens, is that if someone rejects you, if a lead rejects you, one of the other things that's gonna happen. Also, Heather, can you turn on the lights, by the way? So yeah, if that's how the lead treats you, and you do have an opinion on specific things, and they reject you, right? You can be assured that that lead talks shit about you as well in your own department, just that you don't know because you might not be as well connected. You are gonna find out someday that these things don't stay hidden.
yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, like let's come back to the actual topic where we started out, which is about postmortem, right? Also, guys, in the chat, if you're listening, you can leave comments there. This is a talk between
open
us,
chat,
but
yeah.
it's an open chat. Like you can share your experiences. I love to listen to stories and stuff, and I love to tell stories. I'm still trying to improve on how to tell better stories, but hey, this is all I've got for now. And anyways,
Well, the thing that I wanted to bring up,
Yeah.
There's one of my personal heroes in the field of education.
Yeah.
Is a guy called Rafe Esquire.
mm-hmm.
And his first book that I read of his was entitled Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire. Great book.
Oh, that's why I don't have hair right now.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry.
but great book. But his
Yeah.
entire thesis of the book was that the reason why there is so much stress in education
Yeah.
is that students are expected to live in fear.
Yeah. Okay.
And his take on it was that politicians make the principals fear,
Yeah.
and then the principals try to instill fear into the teachers,
Yeah.
and then the teachers allow the fear to roll downhill to the students.
It goes from top to
And
bottom,
it goes down
snowballing.
and down and down and down and down.
Yeah.
And that this is no way to do it. And
Yeah.
his entire take was that the responsibility of a good teacher
Yeah.
was to act as an insulator for this fear.
Yeah. Which is again the responsibility of the lead in
A
the
good
situation.
lead should basically be not scared that if I do my job properly, I'm going to be replaced, or they need to be confident and they need to be sure that, hey, this is what needs to get done, and once I get it done, that's what I need.
Exactly. So but that's the thing, right? This is the thing. A lot of times, in my experience, if toxicity has come from someone, it has been my direct lead. Because the moment
that's the person you're going to see it from.
Exactly. Because everyone else don't matter, because that's the person you're going to interact with the most. And that's also your, like I said, that's your prime source of communication with the whole company. If you're dealing with problems, that's the first person you're going to rely on to push your argument before you go to the CEO. Because between him and CEO, there
should be a couple of
steps, right?
One or two. You know.
So if you can't talk to the primary source of your communication, then you're already fucked. Yeah, you were saying something?
Well, I was about to say, look to the cocoon to your right.
Yeah, I can battle with it.
Yeah, I think you should, on the grounds that there's probably someone in there.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, it's a treasure chest.
Wow.
Okay, it's still good. Treasure chest, man. Come on. I'll destroy the other one as well. But yeah, like coming back to the post-mortem, the thing is that a lot of in my case, like if the post-mortem hasn't happened, it's because the ideas have been rejected to such a certain point that I don't feel like inputting on a certain thing. It's not that I don't think we should do it. It's just that it's the rejection of ideas that hurt. Second, because of someone's freaking ego coming in, like they want their ego to be listened to more than the project's completion, and that being a good thing. And I know at the end of the day, if I'm with that kind of a team, I know that if I say certain things, they're gonna take it personally by assuming that what I'm saying is that you did a fucking bad job and you need to get better, where the intention is not gonna be that. Which is something you talked about, the game jams, crunching thing, right?
Yeah.
That it promotes crunch, kind of. Whereas intention is not that.
But to promote creativity.
Yeah.
But how much creativity is it in fact promoting when it is rewarding? People will realize that what is being rewarded is what is being valued.
Yeah.
So what are the values of our community?
Yep. So it's similar here. It's the same concept that follows through. Now, postmortems are an amazing thing to do, and I extremely support them. But you can only do them with teams which can take arguments.
Yeah, you can only do them with teams that are ready to do them.
Like
this is again cultural appropriateness.
Yeah, and again, I will say that one of the reasons I'm going to say that why I've gotten the direct toxicity from leads like it's a department lead, and then there's also maybe design leads and stuff like that, because I got to interact with them sometimes, right? Or it happened in like past years way too much. It's not just a specific moment. It's a repeated experience that has happened, and it's kind of like let's see, how do I put this best? I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna try to swim. Anyways,
Splush.
I wish this was like a bigger splash, like from the higher you fell. But again, it's a generalization of the whole thing, so it's fine.
The other cheat that they're doing, is that they're not bothering to animate your party members running with you.
They are.
Well, not until you stop moving.
No, but the animations are there, or I can look at them.
Okay.
So you're wrong about that.
Well,
now you know.
No, I know.
Now you know.
If
It's all right. It's all right. There is no harm done in that. I wonder where this place is. So let's try to give it a look. I think it was somewhere around there. Yeah. So yeah. So basically, in terms of submitting prototypes by leads and stuff like that, uh, in my experience, I've a lot of times whenever this design process begins, before pre-production, where the discussion's happening, I've just for some reason had experience with people who are like, oh hey, it's going to be a very creative. This is going to be like a very creative session where we are supposed to do criticize each other, right? And I go like, yeah, most definitely, I would absolutely love to do that, because arguments are like, oh my god, you're presenting me an argument, and my brain literally goes like, hey man, let's do this, and I'm excited. And then I get to hear, like when I ask a question, what they do is, instead of them explaining themselves because it's their design, they ask me, okay, then what would you do?
That's not an answer. That's shifting the burden of proof.
Yeah. Now here's the reason why that's a bad answer. If you're in a lead position, by the way, please don't say that to any other person. If a question is being asked from you, if you don't know the answer, excuse yourself.
Yeah.
It is absolutely all right to do so.
I don't know is always a valid answer.
But instead hearing what would you do is, it's a threat.
Yeah, it's you think you can do better.
Yeah, it's like it's a threat because for one, your lead is on a higher position than you, and they definitely have the power to push the idea that, hey, maybe you need to get fired. So
again, rule by fear.
Yeah. And
Albert Camus, there is nothing so disreputable as respect born of fear.
Yeah, I have specific leads right now, and I honestly respect them for the sake that I've told them stuff where they have gone like, either with explanation of what happened, or whether they have been like, okay, I actually might have done that, so maybe I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Or
let me work on that.
Exactly. And I respect them for that specific reason, right? And that is such an amazing attribute in any person in life. And I can, like, when that happens, I can literally go to their face and say that, hey, this is the problem that's happening in an organization, and I think it's a fucking huge issue, and you need to look into it, without worrying about getting a backlash that I might be telling them that, without them feeling like, oh, maybe I'm the part of the problem or something like that, right? Which is honestly not a fun thing to experience. Okay,
the sky stage is going to be the thing that takes you around to the marker.
Not the sky stage. I have so basically, you see this error?
Yeah.
It says that you can go up.
Okay.
So I missed that when I was near there.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, that's the thing. Like, again, coming back to the post-mortem, it is amazingly important.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people who do post-mortems of any game in real life, but I haven't yet met someone who do post-mortem of games, of their own games in an industry, even though it's a very important skill or a very important procedure to do. They've either not thought of it, or if it happens, its value basically drops because of these specific reasons.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I'm gonna find a good spot to stop this.
Yeah,
because it's been like we're going on for like I don't know. The topic just became interesting, and I kind of lost the whole focus. But
yeah, it's getting past my bedtime.
yeah, it's we're keeping the old man up, so you know. It's the saying, you know, the older you get, the basically the age-wise, the younger you get. You transgress back to your childhood like behavior. So you know, damn it, it's taking me down. I was wrong. I'm gonna see that cave. I'm gonna stop it at the cave. I might do some off-stream grinding because it seems like I have to do quite a bit. But also like.
Well, I think it'd be fun to think of a topic to talk about before just launching into a random conversation.
I mean, yeah, one of the things I'm trying to do, which is actually an idea that I was exploring and I was telling Hassan as well, is that I want to have like a list of things that I want to talk about. And it would be amazing to do so because in that specific case we have a sort of a guideline on what we want to talk about, and I can post that before starting the stream. That hey, these are the things that
We're gonna be talking about today.
that we are going to be talking about. So if there's anything you want to add to it, you can add to it, because the purpose of the purpose of the streaming is not to play the game as much as it's like playing the game is going to be part of it somewhat, but as much as it's going to be the talks about the other topics that I'm going to bring. That's going to be with real life events, maybe something we are doing, maybe, and I don't know. I love game design talks. It's amazing, and I want to contribute to the whole thing because, in a way, I've had so much experience built up at this point. Like, it's not extremely lots, but it's still, I would say.
Well, at the moment, this is like your 9th stream, and you're still looking for your voice.
I most definitely am. I think it's gonna change. It's gonna change quite a bit.
Whereas mine tends to be very philosophical. In case you hadn't noticed.
I mean, yours fine, man. I love your voice. That's the thing. I wish I had one of those, like Joe Rogan or someone else's voice. But like that's them though.
Yeah.
I don't think
I mean it more as in the topics that you.
Oh yeah,
wish
that
to
that
talk
as well.
About.
That as well. That as well.
The voice is with a capital V.
Okay.
Is the sort of thing where it's how do we talk about these things? What's the stylistics that you use?
Yeah.
And at the moment, it's your 9th stream, and you're just kind of chilling out and going.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
what am I going to do with this?
But
what is it that makes it different for my audience?
But like, this is what I want to do. Like, I think the overall intention of the stream is to be kind of chill. I think even like in my chill mode, when I get on the stream, I'm still very high, like high on energy. I want to bring that down to a level which is like very easily absorbable for people. I do know I get to mumble sometimes. I don't know, it's not as much as before, but I still tend to mumble quite a lot more. I just need to see, like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Return to Cheryl. Who the fuck's Cheryl? Anyways, I'll find them later on. It's but yeah, I'm gonna stop the game here. I'm gonna move to the title screen because we are gonna
finish up.
Yeah, so in terms of like what we are doing here, it's like we are trying to build up the habit of being able to talk and play on stream, because the setup itself is going to become kind of interesting. Also, the music of this screen is going to be amazing, so like just listen to it for a while and then we are going to sign off.
Yes, because it's well past my bedtime. And
yeah, I'm sorry, I'll walk you home.
walk with me for a bit.
Yeah. So okay, so the idea is ultimately is to travel around or bring people who like you, because I consider myself to be on knowledge level to be very low. I have experiences, but even at my own age level, I see people who are pretty amazing. By the way, I'm not pulling myself down.
Yeah,
I have my own experiences, and I know those have been so unique. It's amazing. Sometimes it's just amazing to see that I just sit down, I just look back at what I've done, and that looking back just overwhelms me as to how did I do that, right? But in a positive way. It sends this sort of a wave of energy through me, and it motivates me to do more. And the thing about this is where this specific stream started out is to give back. Because for me, the biggest problem, the biggest challenge that I've ever faced in life is lack of mentors at every step, at every era of my life, at every age. That includes that my dad has been a mentor in specific things, but it's kind of like he's been busy taking care of everyone. He is an outstanding person, but he was so busy taking care of everyone, like family and extended family, that he just didn't had enough time to make me sit down and say that, son, this is the thing, and he trusts me. And that's absolutely an amazing thing. Same with the programming. I never had a teacher who went like, oh, I'm gonna teach you something, because usually the dynamic would have been, I sit in the class and I'm like, hey, I know this.
Yeah.
In game design, I've been in a culture. Okay, I'm gonna go to the game design, and I'm gonna go to a very sensitive topic after that. In game design, I've been born in a place where game design doesn't exactly exist.
Yes.
When you tell someone a game design, they think that it's the idea guy who pushes an idea on top of you, and that's it, right? And it took me 4 years to understand what I was learning and how to use that. And that is such a freaking bad time, because you keep on taking information but you don't know where to give it back to.
Yeah.
It is an awful feeling. If anyone has gone through it, I empathize with you because it depressed me and I didn't even realize it was making me depressed. It is just that heavy. I never had people to tell me about what emotions are. And I think the world is filled with people who don't understand what emotions they're feeling, because no one have told them what these are, except what sadness is and happiness is.
Well, that's a whole
exactly.
different discussion.
But I'm just saying, it still contributes to the whole thing, right?
Misattribution theory is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is. Then another thing that is that I never had guidance. Because apparently I was the child who knew everything and who was like this brilliant person who can figure out life for themselves. I never had guidance. Even my parents didn't intervene in where I was going. And that is a very heavy thing. And I think because of that, my progress has been slowed down. Right? And that's what I want to give back to people. I want to try to be that mentor. In a way, not like I'm not going to take all of the credit, but I at least want to try to give back something that I wished I had, but I don't have. Which is why we kind of focus towards building the communities. Even the board game and tabletop role-playing games has the same history. The base intention is the same for me and Hassan. You were saying something.
No, I was just noticing the beautiful imagery and everything.
Oh yeah, this is just amazing. So yeah, like the intention for us comes from the same thing, that we lacked on the communities. We wanted to do things, but we couldn't do that. And thing is, by the time we are gonna build that, our time is gonna be over. We are gonna we might see a beautiful image at the end of the day. We might even get to play in those communities. Right? But it's not the same as you having a community where you go to and they help you build up. But I'm not going to deny that this feeling that every step going up and doing this whole thing, if it doesn't excite me every day, it has its hardships. But goddamn, it's so fucking beautiful. If someone has opportunity to do that,
I think that's a beautiful place to leave it.
Yeah, actually, let's just stop there. But guys, everyone who has joined in, thank you for joining in, and follow us up on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Insta, and Pather, thank you for coming in and joining the stream, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be coming in quite more often.
Yeah, at least a couple more times.
Yeah, I hope.
Although, maybe we'll organize something.
We most definitely will.
Maybe we'll take a look at some real old school games and talk about design on that. So.
It's absolutely we are planning to. What's going to happen soon is that one place this thing is going to run, but we are going to have multiple more inputs going on, so we'll have another system for you to work with. So we'll be changing focus between multiple things. We are definitely going to include cameras and stuff as well, by the way. So yeah,
it means I have to make sure I trim my beard.
But yeah, it's going to keep you in shape. But yeah, we are gonna stop here. Thank you everyone, have a good night and have a good Sunday, and hope you are all right. Stay safe and good night. Peace out.